A very good morning to our distinguished guests, partners of the AZEC Business Forum, stakeholders, ladies and gentlemen. Konnichiwa, sawadee, or as we say in Malaysia and Indonesia, selamat sejahtera, or may you be well, to all of you here with us this morning. I'm Shani Imanli, and on behalf of our organizers, it is my honor to welcome all of you to the AZEC Business Forum, a vital platform advancing collaboration towards a decarbonized and sustainable Asia. This morning's session focuses on how both the public and private sectors can turn ambition into action, exploring pathways such as zero-emission thermal power, sustainable fuels, and transition finance. Building on the momentum from the second AZEC ministerial meeting held in Jakarta last year, this forum continues the conversation, translating AZEC's shared vision into real projects, tangible partnerships, and actionable solutions. Over the next few hours, we'll hear the latest developments, examine challenges, and look ahead to the innovations driving our region towards a net zero future, one that balances climate action, economic growth, and energy security. To kick things off for our session, let's start with the first of our three opening remarks this morning. For that, representing the advocacy group of AZEC, please allow me to invite Mr. KOBORI Hideki, Vice Chair of the Japan Business Federation, KEIDANREN, and Chairman and Director of Asahi Kasei Corporation. Over to you, Mr. KOBORI.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction. Good morning, everyone. So I'm addressing you today on behalf of a Japanese business community. I'm delighted to see so many representatives of government, key agency, and business community here today at the AZEC Business Forum from both the ASEAN countries and beyond. AZEC has aimed for the triple breakthrough by simultaneously achieving decarbonization, economic growth, and energy security in Asia through diverse pathways. Now, energy security is growing in importance worldwide. Geometrical risk worldwide as the geometrical risks increase. The Russia invasion of Ukraine and so risk. The EU, which before took a one-size-fits-all approach to decarbonization, is starting to adopt a more pragmatic approach. It critical execute, so it now seeks to decarbonize without a sacrificing gain in industrial competitiveness. This demonstrates that the need to pursue diverse pathways is coming to better understand around the world. AZEC's significance is growing as the problem of climate change worsens. The AZEC initiative has made steady progress. Action plan for the next decade was adopted at the second AZEC leaders meeting in October last year. Agreement with the first AZEC project has also been concluded. Also, the idea of establishing an ASEAN-powered grid is gaining momentum. We hope that the step will be taken to make it happen while tapping private sector technology through public-private partnerships. The Japanese business community continue to have a high expectation for AZEC. We appreciate that the AZEC initiative have made headway. However, progress have been slow. KEIDANREN therefore released a second set of recommendations last month to follow up on last year's. We did so in the belief that it's critical to execute individual decarbonization projects quickly. Let me briefly share these recommendations with you. First, decarbonization project and AZEC-wide policy coordination need to be trusted as two complementary approaches. With regards to a policy issue that relate specifically to today's agenda, the issue of unifying standards and certification systems is of considerable interest to Japanese companies. Especially, vehicle biofuels are an immediate way to reduce CO2 emission since they can be used even in motor vehicles. We encourage AZEC partner government to take swift action to design and develop systems for the promoting their wider use. Further, financing is essential to executing individual projects. Predictive capability of return on the investment is one concern when it comes to transition financing. Project eligible for support therefore need to be clearly identified. We are also calling for the establishment of a mechanism enable organic strategy use of funding from the Japanese government, international bodies, and public-private financial institutions. Finally, I would like to say that the government and the private sector must work together if carbon neutrality is to be achieved. May today's Business Forum be an opportunity to accelerate effort to implement the AZEC initiative. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. KOBORI. It is thanks to community partners like KEIDANREN that AZEC can continue to thrive and make significant steps towards net zero. Ladies and gentlemen, in the lead up to today's forum, a pitch event for startup companies called ASEAN Sparks was held in this venue just yesterday. And later today, there will be another event taking place, a collaboration between Japan and ASEAN called SEFIA, or the Clean Energy Future Initiative for ASEAN. Both of these events are significant for industrial development, energy conservation, and decarbonization within the ASEAN region, and they align closely with the objectives of this AZEC Business Forum. With that in mind, let's take the opportunity to hear from the ASEAN Center for Energy, or ACE, the organizer of both these events. Representing ACE, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on stage Yang Berbahagia Dato Razib Dawood, Executive Director of the ASEAN Center for Energy.
Thank you, Madam MC. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and salam sejahtera. Very good morning. Konnichiwa, Swasdi, salam sejahtera. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure to welcome you all to this ASEAN Zero Emission Community of AZEC Business Forum. So the forum marks an important role for our region to work together for a common and shared prosperity. So this year, 2025, under Malaysia's chairmanship of ASEAN, so the AMIMS, or Energy Minister meeting, have adopted the theme of powering ASEAN, bridging boundaries and building prosperity. So this theme reflects our collective commitment for more energy cooperations towards prosperity to ensure that our economic growth remains dynamic, innovative, and people-centered. So this is the broad vision that's not only being a key feature of the ASEAN Energy Business Forum, but also the discussion at the official ministerial agenda on the same level, this venue. So this is a strong collective theme on how ASEAN can move together as a group towards a shared energy, security, and transition. ASEAN have also endorsed the new business plan or the new blueprint, what we call ASEAN Plan of Action for Energy Cooperation, or well known as APAIC, for the next 5 years, starting 2026 to 2030. And another important roadmap, ASEAN Renewable Energy Long-Term Roadmap, with others' annual priorities. So this moment marks a new chapter for the ASEAN Energy Cooperation, building from the ASEAN Community Vision 2045. Our energy cooperation shall provide a just, secured, and people-centered growth for all. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is my hope that today's forum can amplify this theme and message from the ASEAN Energy Cooperation to broader community. We commend the close dialogue partnership with Japan, including through many other joint activities. It is only through this type of cooperation that we can move forward together as a region for our dreams and vision. It is my also hope that our cooperation platform in the AMIM +3, CEFIA, and the ASEAN Sparks, and others can continue to strengthen our dialogue partnership. With that, I warmly invite all of you, we still have another day today, to join the business forum, the ASEAN Energy Business Forum, which is held this year. I think with that note, again, thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you, Yang Berbahagia Dato Razib. And we look forward to more great initiatives from ACE and its collaborators as well, like ASEAN Sparks and CEFIA, as we move ahead towards net zero goals. And last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, let's also hear from the Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry of Japan, a vital partner of the AZEC Business Forum. For that, let's invite on stage Mr. KIMURA Norihiro, the Ministry's Senior Negotiator for the Climate Change and Global Environmental Affairs Office. Welcome, Mr. KIMURA.
Good morning, Excellency, distinguished delegates, and ladies and gentlemen. My name is Norihiro Kimura, Senior Negotiator for Climate Change, GX Policy Group at the Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry of Japan. I'm honored to be here making opening speech on behalf of METI. Thank you very much for joining us today for the joint opening of 3 important events, such as ASEAN Sparks, AZEC Business Forum, and the ACE-CEFIA Government-Private Forum held in conjunction with the AZEC Ministerial Meeting. I believe Mr. KOBORI Hideki, Vice Chair of KEIDANREN and Chairman and Director of Asahi Kasei Corporation, as well as Mr. Dato, Razib Dawood, Executive Director of ASEAN Center for Energy, have already outlined the objectives and key points of each event. What I would like to emphasize here is that these 3 events are not just being held in parallel. Rather, these 3 events are working together in an organically linked manner in order to achieve energy transition toward carbon neutrality, which is a common challenge for Japan, ASEAN, and the AZEC partner countries. The fight against climate change we are facing right now is no longer something that can be addressed by any one country alone, nor can it be solved by a single technology or sector. For example, in the case of biofuel, ASEAN countries have huge potential of production, while Japan can offer technologies for utilization of biofuel. Cross-cutting collaboration across innovation, investment, institutional frameworks, and international cooperation is now imperative. In fact, these three events are serving as a platform to achieve this kind of collaboration. At ASEAN Sparks, held yesterday, 20 outstanding startups and SMEs engaged in decarbonization and clean energy technologies presented their solutions. As a result, promising 8 companies were selected as future driving forces towards decarbonization. As many women-led startups participate in this event, we look forward to the emergence of new solutions from such diverse innovators. Right after this opening, the AZEC Business Forum will take place, aiming for discussing the potential and challenges of decarbonization business in the region, broadening investment opportunities and cross-business collaboration. Through this dialogue among private sectors, international organizations, and governments, we expect new partnerships will be developed, accelerating the energy transition across the entire region. The CEFIA Government-Private Forum will be held this afternoon, serving as a platform to support and advance these initiatives through public-private partnership from business, institutional, and policy aspects. METI and ACE are actively engaged in promoting the smooth introduction of decarbonization technologies by private companies through capacity building, seminars, and information sharing. These efforts are currently beginning to realize concrete demonstration projects. The joint statement issued at AZEC Ministerial and the leaders' meetings in the past 2 years have repeatedly emphasized the importance of pursuing various and practical transitions in line with each country's national circumstances. Within the AZEC region, we share the views that it is important to achieve these transitions in a manner compatible with economic growth and to utilize various energy sources and technologies. While these three events take different approaches and activities, each of them is a steady and practical initiative aiming for securing various pathways towards energy transition in this context. I believe the strength of these three events lies in the fact that they bring together a wide range of stakeholders, governments, international organizations, startups, and large corporations working across boundaries. This kind of collaboration is our key advantage and the value all of the participants here can offer to the world. The outcome of these events will be shared during the AZEC ministerial meeting this afternoon and be reflected in its joint statement. We will continue to make best effort to ensure that these public-private initiatives further expand throughout the AZEC region and ASEAN countries. Finally, please join us and enjoy the discussion at the AZEC Business Forum and the CEFIA Government-Private Forum immediately following this opening event. We look forward to networking with you all during lunch and other break time. Thank you so much for attention.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kimura. And thank you very much, gentlemen, Mr. KOBORI, Dato, and Mr. Kimura. It's heartening to note that AZEC is leading the way for zero emissions initiatives in this region, proving that no one country can go it alone, and dialogue, partnership, and collaboration are the way to go. With that, we conclude the opening session, ladies and gentlemen, and now it's time to move into our forum. For our first session, we will discuss the ASEAN Power Grid, an important initiative to enhance regional energy connectivity and utilize renewable resources more effectively. Although each country's systems and regulations differ, progress is being made through several ongoing projects. Today, our speakers from AZEC member countries and the private sector will share updates, challenges, and possible solutions to further advance the ASEAN power grid. I'm pleased to share that all our sessions here today will be moderated by economists from the Economic Research Institute for ASEAN and East Asia, or ERIA. To chair this first session, I'm honored to welcome on stage Dr. Yanfei, Policy Fellow, ERIA, as our moderator, as well as our panelists. Over to you, Dr. Lee.
So good morning, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Yanfei Lee from ERIA. So it's my great honor to be here to moderate this very important and interesting session on ASEAN Power Grid, APG. And I think this is a perfect timing and place for us to talk about this topic because of this just announced new MOU, and also this is a perfect place because it's in association with AMEM and EMM. So very honored. We also today have several experts from ACE, from TMB, and Kasei Electric, as well as ADB joining us. They represent the think tank, the energy companies, and also the financial institutes. So hopefully we will today have a very fruitful discussion. So without further ado, allow me to announce the beginning of our session, starting with presentations from our panelists. Please, please. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Yanfei. Please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Nadila Shani. I'm the head of the Power Generations and Interconnections Department in ACE. And for today, to open the discussions, I would like to give some context and updates as well on what's the progress of the APG. So I think you've heard all these 3 days about ASEAN Power Grid and how we are made a quite significant progress, although that we have been initiating this since like 2 decades ago. But I think recently, this past 5 years, we've made quite a dynamic and momentum to commencing and accelerating the development of the APG. As you see on the slide that currently under the ASEAN cooperations on APG, we've had listed like 18 cross-border projects that is prioritized to pursue in the regions, and there will be many more that perhaps led by the bilateral cooperations between the countries. And as of today, we have like 9 interconnections in operations with differentiations of like grid-to-grid interconnections, also generations-to-grid interconnections. And why this is important is because like in the recent ASEAN Interconnections Master Plan study that we conducted as the regional planning of the regions, we envisaged that by having this much of interconnections, we could evacuate the renewable energy sources from the different parts of the ASEAN, and then we can optimize it to share the renewable energy sources to be used widely in the regions. And I think this will bring greater benefits in terms of higher renewable energy penetrations in the regions. We will need more stronger interconnections between the power system to handle the resiliency of the grid itself. And it will can reduce these cost as well in a saving and generations capacity if we could maximize the interconnections. And this is the study that we are doing as well, looking at the current existing interconnections and how the infrastructure could develop until 2040. And basically, we want to also see the pathway on how we can use the existing and the future interconnections to enable trade between countries as well. So currently, most of the existing interconnections that we use under APG is for not for commercial purposes, with some of this, especially the generations to grid for commercial purposes. But mostly it's for like resiliency and also the reliability of the interconnected power system. But as of we are more interconnected in the future, we'll see that this infrastructure could also be the backbones to use for us to trade between each other. And we've had the first multilateral power trade pilot under the Laos, Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore as a basis and in how we want to develop further from cross-border bilateral interconnections to multilateral power trade, learning from the lessons from the first LTMS. And then I just want to highlight as well, perhaps we'll discuss more in the panel, in developing this infrastructure and also market development in ASEAN, there will be several challenges like policy and regulatory, institutional challenges, technical and also financial, and its implementations. I think this is where we are under the regional cooperations framework to facilitate, to solve and help address some of these challenges, because this is something that perhaps not can be solved under the bilateral cooperations itself. For example, you've heard from yesterday that ASEAN as a group managed to finish the new APG MOU. This enhanced APG MOU is this will serve as the intergovernmental agreement between all the ASEAN member states on how we develop the APG. So this is one of the enablers on how we are moving forward in terms of developing the APG infrastructure and initiate the development of the markets in the ASEAN regions. And this sort of like higher new enhanced MOU will provide sort of like more clearer institutional framework and governance in the regional level. So hopefully that this would help the projects moving as well bilaterally. And also in the regional level, there is some technical and financial challenges that needs to be solved as well that perhaps we'll discuss more in the panel. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Shani. I think that is a wonderful presentation giving us the overall view on APG and its related policy and institutional developments. Next, let's zoom in a little bit from company's point of view. Allow me to invite TMB to share with us. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera, a very good morning, distinguished guests, fellow delegates. Thank you, Dr. Lee, for introducing. Let me introduce myself. My name is Rahim Yusof. I'm from Tenaga Nasional. Currently, I'm in charge of the heading department of grid strategy, basically crafting the policies as well as strategy for future grid network in Peninsular Malaysia for Tenaga Nasional Berhad. I will do quick introduction of the company, portfolio and so on. Later during the Q&A sessions, I will go into details what are our priorities in terms of promoting the ASEAN power grid for the Malaysia perspective. Okay. Okay, Tenaga Nasional is the largest utility company in Malaysia. We hold about 48% of the domestic generation capacity. Our grid network span from north to south. It's about transmission length is about 29,000 kilometers of transmissions. Substation 543. Currently, our performance for the grid system unit is 0.0019. For the last 8 years, we have been, the performance for the grid network is below 2 minutes. Yeah? And then for our distribution network, it's about, the length of the network is about 738 thousand kilometer, about 99,000 substations, with the performance of SID is about 47 minutes. And our customer is about 10.4 million, and currently our customer satisfaction index positioned at 87%. We also have our, just to elaborate further, we have our subsidiary, Sabah Electricity, on the east of Malaysia. On the group portfolio, current gross capacity is about 21 gig, with domestic about 17 gig, international about 3.2 gig. Just for information, our network for Tenaga Nasional span cross country is 500 kV is the highest voltage, the lowest voltage is 132. So we have 500, 275, and 2 kV running at 50 Hertz frequency. We also have several main subsidiaries there. We have a manufacturing subsidiaries as well as providing consultancy to various energy industry. Go next. On the international platform level, we also invest quite a significant huge investment. For example, in 2021, we have established this Vantage area in United Kingdom. We have onshore wind, about 124 megawatt. Also, we have offshore winds, about 41 megawatt. Total about solar is 276 megawatt in United Kingdom. In 2016, we also invest in Turkey, Gamma, through our subsidiary, as well as Remaco is one of our biggest subsidiary that expand, mainly focusing on the Middle East utility, as well as the others. Recently, we also in the plan of acquiring one solar plant acquisition in Australia. So this is all this international division also looking into increasing our portfolio in the RE development, not only in Malaysia, but also focusing rest of the area in this region as well as in Australia and other countries as well. With that, I end for my introduction. Later during the QA, I will show into detail on the TMB perspective of the ASEAN power grid. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dato.
Thank you, Mr. Rahim. I think utility companies like TMB certainly have expertise and capacity. So look forward to seeing more leadership from TMB in the specific APG projects in future. Next, maybe we can look beyond ASEAN for the time being. Let's invite Kansai Electric to share with us their expertise and experience. Please, Kansai.
Thank you, Dr. Lee. Good morning, everyone. My name is Seigo Yagi from Kansai Electric Power in Japan. I'm head of the project development, the global EX division. I'm exploring the new investment opportunity globally. So I'd like to introduce briefly my company and also what Kansai want to do in contribute in the ASEAN power grid. This is our history. We established it more than 70 years ago. We are becoming one of the largest utility companies in Japan with a track record of innovation and leadership in the power industry. I'd like to highlight about the power grid business. In 2000, we deployed Annan-Kihok direct current main line 200 kV transmission line project in Japan. And also that in 2018, we joined the NoiConnect UK-Germany 500 kV interconnector project. This is under construction. Now that we have the zero carbon, the vision 2050 to achieve the zero carbon society in the future, so that we believe the power grid system, the stable and reliable, is quite important for our zero carbon future. This is the key figures, but I'd like to skip in detail, but please note that the transmission and distribution business was unbundled in Japan under the regulatory regime. But now that we are working together with a T&D company in the international business. Here is the global portfolio. We are not doing the business in Japan, but also expanding our business in Asia, Europe, and the United States. In power grid business, we deploy the UK and Germany interconnector project, but also we are very keen to involve in such business in ASEAN countries. This is the case of the NOI-Connect UK-Germany interconnector project. First, HVDC interconnector project between UK and Germany to contribute the enhancing the utilization of renewable energy resources and reducing CO2 emissions, which already the previous presenters mentioned. This is good structured with project finance, strong support by the JBIC, because there is a stable revenue schemes in both the UK and Germany. Such the government is quite supportive for this project. This is the DC 500 kV and 1.4 gigawatt capacity. The length is about 720 kilometers. Now the revenue scheme in the UK, the cap and floor, and also the Germany provide a cost plus fee revenue scheme. So this is quite important for us to join this project as a business aspect. We Kansai have a strong confidence to contribute this kind of the HVDC project from the feasibility study phases and development, construction, and the final operation phases. So we would like to commit the business plan, modeling, technical design, O&M modeling, and main suppliers contract, and also the finance agreement. All aspects we would like to bring our experience to this project. Final one is our recent activities in Indonesia, backed AZEC initiatives. Under the AZEC initiatives, the Indonesia Grid Working Group has established since 2022. Now the Indonesian government, PLN, and Kasei entered into the MOU to expertise these activities in Indonesia. The Japanese government, METI, and also the Indonesian government's EQUIN have jointly held an expert group meeting recently to address the several challenges, including transmission line project under the GTG scheme. So Kasei is leading these kind of activities in Indonesia. So I would like to expand further our contribution to the ASEAN countries. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yagi. I think your presentation is a reminder to us not only the importance of technologies from within or from beyond the region could be key enablers, and also AZEC as an initiative, regional initiative, may play a very important role. So last but not least, let's move on to ADB. Very importantly, how are we going to finance all this? Please.
Thank you, and thank you. I'd like to thank the AZEC organizer for bringing in and organizing this panel with the Research Institute to utility to the and developers and the financing. This is a great set of people here in the panel. My name is Keiju Mitsuhashi. I'm the Energy Director at the Asian Development Bank. I'm very happy to be here. I'd like to cover a bit of the challenges that there is, especially on the financing side, and the initiative, and explain that the APG financing initiatives and its objective, and also the solutions to including the diverse financing solution sets and how coordination will help. And because it's a short presentation, I'll prepare the script and then go through the script together with the slides today. So the ASEAN Power Grid is a transformative initiative that is central to the achieving a more resilient and sustainable energy future for ASEAN. As highlighted yesterday at the joint plenary opening, the APG is vital for promoting economic integration, growth, energy security, and energy transition across the region. Momentum is building behind the APG with increasing interconnections, preparation for subsea cable projects, and national grid strengthening efforts. The ASEAN ministers underscored that these developments not just technical upgrades. They are strategic moves to ensure long-term prosperity and stability for all member states. Delivering the APG vision requires concerted action to overcome a range of challenges. Financing remains a critical hurdle. Several hurdles and constraints have been identified. Large funding needs for project developments in preparation, especially for complex subsea cable projects. Coordination challenges that can lead to ineffective allocation and sequencing of support. Gaps in basic project data, which are essential for sound feasibility judgment. The need for sustained support from ASEAN member states to attract development partners and financiers. To address these, financing supports should maximize regional opportunities, mobilize large-scale financing for both public and private sector sponsors, project, and provide an inclusive, flexible approaches for utilities and sponsors. Generating data and evidence of APG project benefits is also crucial for broad-based commitment. ADB and the World Bank are partnering with ASEAN to deliver the ASEAN Power Grid Financing Initiative, APGF. With ASEAN's vision, the APGF aims to bring together solutions and partners to enable end-to-end financing for APG projects. Key objectives include developing a robust pipeline of APG-related projects, mobilizing additional capital and increasing access to sustainable finance by demonstrating the contribution of the APG project to regional integration, resilience, and decarbonization, providing technical assistance to translate project needs into information suitable for funders and investors, convening the APG financing ecosystem around the project-specific requirements, and aligning different forms of support behind specific project needs. The APGF working group is established together with World Bank, ASEAN Center for Energy, and ASEAN Secretariat to lead the financing agenda and then ensure timely delivery of assistance requests. The partner for ASEAN Connectivity on Energy, or PACE, will enhance collaboration, align activities, and surface common issues for ASEAN visibility. Finally, the APGF will mobilize diverse financing solutions by improving coordination and information flows. A range of financing options is available across the project cycle, from feasibility to CapEx stage, including grants for studies and investments, often attached to loans, loans for both public and private sector projects with flexible structure and extended tenors, equity investment and blended financing to low cost or absorbed risks, de-risking instruments such as partial risk and credit guarantee, forex hedging, and liquidity facilities. By facilitating access to project preparation and financing support, accelerating project progress, and mobilizing additional financing and de-risking support, APGF aims to unlock the full potential of ASEAN Power Grid. In summary, the ASEAN Power Grid is a cornerstone for regional integration and energy transition. Overcoming financing and coordination challenges through the APGF and its collaborative approach will be key to realizing the vision and delivering sustainable, resilient energy for ASEAN. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Keju, for elaborating on how financing could be a key enabler, and we certainly look forward to more APG projects to be enabled and reaching FID with the help of ADB and your partners. But as we all also have seen from all these presentations, financing, of course, is not the only sort of challenging and also enabler that we will have to take care of. So we have more issues to discuss. Therefore, allow me to take the advantage of being a moderator here, because ERIA has also been developing almost a decade of research on APG. So allow me to take the lead to raise several, I think, essential questions about APG to our panelists here. I would like to begin with Shani from ACE. So you have mentioned about this enhanced MOU, and we also very much look forward to this exciting development. So could you help us shed some light on the most important differences that this one will make? Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Yanfei. So just a previous history. The first APG MOU that ASEAN had was in 2007. And in the content of the MOU is basically providing the focus area of cooperations under the APG. And during that time, the MOU is focusing on how it's to build a regional study, how we as ASEAN regions could implement the APG. And the focus under the MOU is explorations mode. So it includes like cooperations in developing studies and etc. Not so much focusing on like how to drive the or facilitate the bilateral cooperations for the APG. The differences and why it's now called enhanced MOU, because I think there is a reaffirmations of the commitment from the ASEAN member states that translates to we want to move from studies to more like making a framework for implementations. So this translates to the points in the MOU that in order to move these APG projects and faster to accelerate the development, we need to address the several points as regions together. First is the institutional capacity or arrangement. So this means that currently we have the APG related bodies like APGCC, Hapua, and EARN, which is a platform for different stakeholders to convene, but how basically these three bodies could actually contribute in making a framework to develop the APG in the implementation as a projects. That's the first. The second is also technical challenges, so enhance the regional planning that we have, and also the financing challenges as well. So I think one of the concrete one is the establishment of the APGF. That's perhaps this relates to the visions that the ASEAN, that this MOU will focus on moving from the study into implementations.
Thank you, Shani, for sharing your insights. I think this is a very exciting momentum, and many more facilitation tools are coming on the stage to help accelerate APG. Yeah, so it's very exciting. Next, I would like to turn to Mr. Rahim from TMB's point of view. So Malaysia is already engaged in the APG projects. So what are the current challenges associated with these projects? Maybe you can share with us more details and insights. Yeah.
Thank you, Dato. Before deep dive into all the challenges that we are facing now as well as in the future, let me give you a very brief recap on what we are having now in Malaysia. Currently, for Peninsular Malaysia, especially for TMB, we are focusing on the around 5 interconnection that we are going to build. Although in the screen you show, you can see 7, but we are focusing on the first 5 first here. Okay, I'll start with the. You see, in the ACE study, in the AIMS 3 study, they have identified for ASEAN region under APG into a 3 category region. We call it, if I'm not mistaken, North, South, and West, something like that, yeah? Okay? Yeah. So, as we all know, for the North region under ASEAN APG, we can see that they've got huge, substantial, significant hydro in the Greater Mekong sub-region, yeah? Around 229 gigawatt. This is quite huge RE there. So imagine that we can deliver this clean energy throughout all these ASEAN countries. So for this part of the story, that's why Malaysia, especially for TMB, has positioned itself to facilitate and enable all this clean energy to be distributed, and then we can go for sales or something like that for the rest of the country. Okay, for Malaysia perspective, the first interconnection that currently we have in Thailand and IGAT and Tenaga Nasional Berhad. We have currently we have HVDC, 300 megawatt. Soon it's going to be retired in 2029. Yeah, we have done the feasibility study to upgrade the current HVDC. We may go for upgrading for 1,000 gig, also 1,000 megawatt or 1 gig HVDC between IGAT and TMB. FS we have more or less completed. We just waiting for our counterpart in Thailand just to have further detail so we can go further with this project. And the good thing is that, as you all know, TMB is under regulated business. We have a full support from our Energy Commission to have this connection to be further upgraded. The second link that I would like to further detail is between interconnection between Vietnam to Peninsula Malaysia. It's a wind power, wind. As you know, Vietnam got a lot of huge resources in terms of wind power. We target to commission by 2034. This one is we're working together with our national oil company, Petronas, looking into this. We have more or less completed the pre-FS study. Now we are discussing with the, of course, apart from the power to be used in Malaysia, as well as imported to Singapore. Yeah. So now we are in the final stage discussing with the EMA as well with the SEMCO and so forth. Okay. Number 3 is Sarawak interconnection. We target to complete by 2036. Or just information, all these connections are through subsea cables. Subsea cables. The first one, the Vietnam side, is about almost 800 kilometers of subsea cable. In fact, yesterday I went to the site, the landing site at the Kota Baru there, near the, we call it Kandis. It's a beautiful place. Yeah. Even based on previous study on the seabed, that earlier that from different study, I think it's quite feasible to land there. Yeah. So the other one you are looking for is Sarawak interconnection with about up to 2 gig. Sarawak, you have a lot of hydro there. It's going to land from Sempadi in Sarawak, land in Sidili. We identified 3 locations in Sidili there to further decide which one is the best locations. That one will be connected to our main grid later. And up to 2 gig hydro. Sarawak have enormous potential of hydro resource. And then number 4 is on the, currently we have 2 times 150 megawatt connection to the Singapore. We plan to introduce another link. We call it second link, up to 2 gig. We are on the already final stage on the basically identifying before the full FS can be done. In fact, today we're going to, yesterday we have signed a joint development agreement with Singapore Power and SGEI to develop this second link interconnection up to 2 gig. The final one will be from Sumatra to Peninsula Malaysia. Sumatra in Perawang, connected to the, where in Melaka with Teluk Gong. There's about subsea cable about 50 kilometers. The rest is all the transmission 500 kV line. Of course, there's all converter station there. Okay, that's only the intro, Doctor. What's the challenge? That's the interesting part. So, what's the challenge? I've just keep to the two things that we are facing now, which I go further later elaborate on this. First, what's the challenge? I think the first thing we should do is we shall get our house in order in such a way that we are going to increase our grid capacity in the Peninsula of Malaysia before we are receiving all these juice from the rest of the country. So we are focusing on upgrading our transmission lines, capacity, reconductoring. In fact, we have a challenge, as you all know, Malaysia strives to have a major hub for data center. Recently, we have got, for the last 2 or 3 years, we have received quite a lot of application as well. We have commissioned number of data center. Data center, as we all know, consume a lot of power, and then we can take this opportunity, import from the power from the rest of the clean energy from the rest of ASEAN country, so we can. So the challenge now is to have this capacity, this grid to be upgraded everywhere. And second thing that will be just quick one, Dato, just to share. Other challenge that we have cross-border alignment. We have a mutual agreement with the rest of the ASEAN country. Interconnection capacity, whether the subsea or the grid on the network itself. For example, that from Vietnam side, landing there in Kelantan there, Kandis, inshallah, we're going to build a new, we call it new 500 kV East Coast Corridor to be connected to the West Coast Corridor. So, West Coast Corridor. So, we have a kind of loop there. We are building about 800 kilometer, 500 kV transmission line. The good thing is that we are ready for this. In fact, now we are in the phase of acquiring the land. Okay. The challenge is that, of course, when we know there are projects coming, the price, you know, all this land price and so on and so on. So there's quite a number of challenges there. So, okay. And then grid reliability, okay, to ensure the grid is reliable, resilient, we have to invest in advanced technology and modernize the grid. Regulatory framework, also another thing that we are looking into. For example, we are IBR under incentive-based regulation, whereby the link should be under merchant, I believe. So whether at the interfacing, there's quite a challenge. Whether will that be some sort of a clear boundary between the merchant link and as well as the regulated infra. Other thing that challenges is that the financing part, the economic justification. Sometimes this interconnection basically need a lot of money. So you should have a willing buyer and willing seller. At the end of the day, the off-taker is very important, whether the price is competitive enough to drive this project. There's several number of challenges we are facing now. Thank you, Dato. Okay.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Rahim, for the insights and also quite comprehensive perspectives from Malaysian side. I think, there are so many challenges, and also there are so many exciting projects. ERIA is a think tank now changing to also focus more on project level, how we can help to facilitate. So hope we can make more contributions. More importantly, I think since we have, you talked about money also, and there are so many projects with varieties of challenges. So I think private sector should be able to, make their contributions by becoming one of the important type of partners. Therefore, my next question to Mr. Yagi from Kasei Electric is, I understand that your company has rich experience, especially in overseas market like Europe. Therefore, maybe you can shed some light on, in these APG projects in ASEAN, how we can mobilize private capital, share, learning from the external experiences. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your questions. I already explained in my presentation, but I would like to highlight again, so that if the private sector joined such kind of a big capital project, that we need to secure the appropriate return with the stable and the predictable return mechanism supported by the government. So without such the stable scheme, the private sector it's quite difficult to join the project. And also, I guess it's quite difficult to provide the finance from the financial sectors. So I strongly expect the government to support to establish such a stable revenue scheme in the ASEAN power grid business. I learned a lot from the UK and Germany, the project. The government support is quite massive to involve the private sectors for such a big project. So I believe this kind of phenomenon is coming to the ASEAN regions to create such stable power grid system.
Thank you, Mr. Yagi. Yes, I strongly agree with you. The suitable business models supported by government with policies and also other facilitations, like from institutional side, the regulatory side, to ensure stable stream of revenue. That is key for successful financing and then attract private partners. In this regard, maybe we can have some learnings from those sub-regions in ASEAN that started early to conduct, to explore the integration of regional markets, and therefore, this is related to the stable stream. Therefore, may I move on to Mr. Keiju? Yes, regarding the, we know that ADB engaged quite early in the GMS region development. So I wonder if you can share with us any key lessons we learned from there, and also, if possible, perhaps also some updates on the latest progress from GMS side. Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you. So ASEAN covers the 10 countries, but then the GMS part within the ASEAN, is limited to a few countries in the Mekong area. And if you look at it, Laos, Vietnam, they are connected, some part of it. Cambodia, Vietnam as well. And then Laos, Thailand, of course. And then so there are a lot of progress already there. And then ADB has been part of the development for these projects, and mainly IPP projects there. Recent one is the Monsoon Winds project, which is a 600 megawatt wind project export from Laos to Vietnam. COD was August this year, and then this is one of the flagship projects that we structured with the blended financing solution, and then also some offtake risk mitigation. And you can see these are more bilateral connections, and these are possible. I think the challenge is to look at the power market development with the multiple parties, and moving away, or beyond the typical long-term PPA to more of the market development. So these are the new challenges that we should be working in the context of ASEAN Power Grid.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Keiju, for sharing the from ADB's stance. I think we have very limited time left for us. So allow me to throw another round of questions, but I would like to request all panelists to give me very concise response, maybe within 1 minute, very short, yeah? So my questions, I try to also be quick and short. From ACE, the think tank point of view, you have the big picture. So can I invite you to comment more on the sort of expectations of private sector and APG and the government sector to promote APG? Perhaps linking these to the enhance the MOU, what additional expectations we could have for these two groups, private sector and government sector?
Yes, thank you. So I think we've heard from Bapak Rahim as well that the more and more projects are initiated and developed, and a lot of that is also long distance subsea cables as well. So there are projects that is new to us, which is requires not only the utilities but also the private contributors as well. So basically what's needed is the framework basically, because this kind of projects involve multi-parties but also multi-countries as well with different regulatory regime. So I think there should be a framework where the government to government could sit down together to figure out how these different parties could collaborate and include, how to include the private contributors or like private involvement in developing these projects, because I think from the private sectors, they need a clarity on policy and regulatory framework for them to be able to see that this is a business that they can work, and how to de-risk these kind of projects, especially for the like subsea projects that requires a lot of expertise and a lot of capital as well.
Thanks, Shani. I think next I would like to move on to the country perspective again. From TMB, you talk about enhancing grid capacity so that all these wonderful projects can take place, perhaps with accelerated developments. So could you help us explain more about the aspects of the grid development that should be prioritized in future, and also linking this to their significance in Malaysia's energy transition and the regional connectivity issues? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Dato. Basically, for TMB, currently for the grid expansion, we are focusing on 3 areas. One is try to get our RE to be connected anywhere, anytime in the grid. Okay, so we are in the middle of crafting a new RE zone, third part of it. Okay, second is the support the APG and the interconnections. Third one will be to serve the demand. Currently, Malaysia have a significant increase of power required for data center. We are talking about 25 gigs in 10 years' time, almost double the current demand that we have. That is on the pre-construct stage, some on the supply application stage, some on the energy supply agreement stage, some is within the construction. Currently, our data center connected is about 3 gig, almost 3 gig. So we have commissioned about 28 numbers of substation just to support this data center. And then the number is growing, so we can see the huge demand there. And then they are willing to go for the clean energy. So by hook or by crook, we need to upgrade our capacity. While we are increasing our capacity, our network, remember that we used to have a 500 kV network meant for the backbone of the country. Nowadays, it's not that the situations. We have to build a 500 kV, especially for this data center, for the customer side. So this is quite significant. The good thing is that the government has introduced this CRES. We have the firm capacity about 20 cents per kilowatt hour, 40 cents for non-firm capacity, 40 cents per kilowatt hour. So this kind of promote all these data to use a clean energy. So we need this interconnection, especially the clean energy, because Malaysia itself not have enough. So that be my take for that one, first one. The second part is on the financing part. We also exploring the business model, the cap and floor model, the purely merchant link, or even a related model and so on. I think we don't much time, so we go to that later maybe. Okay, thank you, Dato.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Rahim. Let's look forward to more synergy from technology and government planning, these climate ambitions and the private sector efforts, as well as from, importantly, support from financing institutes. Next, allow me to zoom in furthermore. I would like to explore for opinions from Kansai Electric, Mr. Yagi. Based on your experience about your projects in this region, what are the barriers, key barriers to realizing grid network projects, and how can these challenges be overcome? Maybe you share your insights.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm sorry to repeat again. So the healthy revenue mechanism is quite important. But as long as there is such kind of the healthy revenue mechanism in the ASEAN power grid business, we are happy to join as a private sector to invest in the project. But still, there is some barriers and the challenges in this market. One of the most difficult challenges right now is to procure the subsea cable and also the main transformer, the former or other equipment for the big project. So the supply chains are quite competitive right now. So if we want to procure the timely manner, we have to accelerate to make an order to the suppliers. But before that, we would like to establish the healthy revenue mechanism with financing institutions. That's why I'm always talking about revenue mechanism. But yes, if we are facing the challenges to the supply chain, we Kansai would like to discuss about this matter with Japanese government and also the Japanese manufacturers to procure the timely manner for the project to accelerate to achieve our target completion date. Thank you.
Yes, thanks for revealing more details about the challenges that we're facing, especially the technical ones that are embedding. But I believe that with this cohort of partners here from our community, we will find a solution with better coordination and better planning. Next, and also probably my last opportunity to raise my question here, I would like to raise this one to ADB, Mr. Keiju. So because multilateral power trade has been mentioned just now several times, and we also, from think tank point of view, fully understand the importance of this one to generate return to this investment on the APG hardware. Therefore, may I ask from ADB's consideration, how can you play some roles to support the development of all forms of cross-border power trade in ASEAN? Please share your insights.
Thank you. I think ASEAN ambition is to connect all the 10 countries. I think it'll be 11 soon, and then to energize and integrate grid to grid. But again, I think how regional power trade develop in other parts of the world also tells us is that it starts small. It starts bilateral. So our approach is to look at the bilateral trade and then whether that works or not, and then go to the sub-region like the GMS sub-region framework, and BMP EGA could be another one, or different part of ASEAN power grid may be able to look at this multilateral power trade. For this, we do also provide technical assistance and knowledge support, and then we are going to conduct a shadow trading exercise, a pilot shadow trading, so it's a scenario analysis using the real data and the real transaction on a hypothetical basis focusing on the Greater Mekong sub-region. And so that the utilities there and the players there will be able to experience what it means to trade and then what benefits you can get out of it. So by going through a small steps practice, I think you build the confidence and find the gaps that need to be improved. And this is how we want to approach to support the multilateral trade from this, I would say, software side in addition to hardware side. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Keiju. I fully agree with you, this practical approach starting with the solid background solid ground of bilateral trade, then we increase the flexibility by, of course, doing some pilot or experiment projects first. Yes, and ERIA is actually conducting relevant studies, so hopefully we can work together on this. Yeah. So without further ado, maybe yes, we still have some time. Let's open to the floor to invite maybe 2 questions, yeah, to our panelists here. Do we have any? We actually have like 4 minutes, so I think APG topic is important enough, and all this. Yes, please. Please introduce yourself as well, briefly.
Yeah, hello, good morning. My name is Eko. I'm from Indonesia, and my company now is promoting the large hydro scale power plant in Kalimantan. We have the potential around 9 gigawatt, but you know, the main problem is the off-taker ratio in Kalimantan is very low. Currently only 2 giga in Indonesia. So I think from my perspective, the most important thing in the APG, I think we need to get the support from each government, because it's not only about the power trade, but also how the economic can be bilaterally or multilaterally can be benefited by each countries of ASEAN. We learn also from the cross-border project from Indonesia to Singapore, though there is a kind of a formality agreement has been already signed. But to materialize the project is also not easy, because there is a conflict from the geopolitical perspective. So in this context, I would like to understand how APG can address the issue, so then the APG is not only talking about the power trade, but also how the economic of each ASEAN can support each other. Thank you.
I think that's an excellent question, and it's relevant to the expertise of everyone here. So may I maybe start with this and then
Yes.
go around very quickly?
Yeah, I think one of the point on the enhanced MOU that we agree among the ASEAN member states is to enhance our regional planning. So I think in realizing the benefits, or like understanding what are the actual benefit of these interconnections, cannot be seen if you are only planning within your boundaries or like your country itself. So you need to have like either sub-regional, like for example in Kalimantan, if you see like you have like 9 gigawatt potential of renewables, perhaps the off-taker itself is not Indonesia, but also the surrounding countries as well. But in order to see that, you need a sub-regional or even like regional sort of like planning, so that this results of this regional planning is basically to make the confidence and to convince the stakeholders within the government what are the economic benefits that they can gain in a wider manner, not only looking from their own jurisdiction. So I think on the regional cooperation level, that's what ACE is trying to facilitate, to work with different utilities and different government as well, to exercise and to enhance this kind of practice. Because then at the end, like mentioned by the gentleman here, how to turn it into real projects, right? And then like interconnections project is mostly approved by the government. So I think it's important to also increase the confidence and the buy-in of the governments, and one of the way is to have like a better regional planning to answer that.
Okay, quick one. Okay, on the same note with Shani point just now. As we all know, each country have their own, we call it transmission development planning. Such as in Malaysia, we have this, we call it annual transmission development planning. We do planning for 10 years. This planning is under the license condition from the regulator. So I think IGAT also have the same thing. I think in Indonesia, PLN also have the same thing, 10 years rolling, review every year. This plan actually is approved by the government, where the investment is approved. So imagine if we can have ASEAN transmission grid planning. Now each country tend to have their own. if you have the ASEAN transmission grid planning endorsed by the AMEM. So I believe, echo question, one of maybe we call it integrated system planning for ASEAN, approved by the government. So definitely we get the support from the government. That's my point.
Thank you for your comment and the questions. I totally agree with you. I'm not an appropriate person to answer your question. I agree that I'm standing by you. So, but I would like to say that you are correct. So the benefit for not only the private sector, not only for the one government, but also we have to consider the benefit for both countries, both regions, both business partners, all the stakeholders. It's quite important to consider what is the most economical and environmental beneficial project for all each regions and countries. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It's a very good question. I think this issue of who benefits and who doesn't, or who benefits more, has been a big issue in this power grid. And let's not forget this. ASEAN Power Grid is not about the wire and then pylons. It's also about the economic impact. And this is why I think ASEAN body started to understand that this is not just an energy issue, it's a finance, but it's also an economy. And there's an interface meeting at the ministerial level to really appreciate how important APG is and then APG financing. Now at ADB, we're looking at this benefits assessment of ASEAN Power Grid for exporters, for producer surplus, and for consumer on the consumer surplus. But we also want to look at different stakeholders have a different impact, including the rural and then more, I would say, a marginalized community. And they need to be part of this APG story. So this is why we're working on our knowledge support to understand the impact of APG for the whole economy.
Thank you all for sharing your insights. I realize that the numbers on the screen are not ticking for us anymore. So probably that's a sign we have to wrap up here. I think we have actually taken this opportunity of the session, fully inspired each other. And also, I was supposed to make a quick concluding remarks, but I think every one of us have our own version already. So much ideas and information have already been shared. I would just like to say one thing very quickly, that we have this like a think tank, ACE, and also the governments working on the top-down approach, and also companies and the private sector. We are working from the bottom-up approach, joining hands with a financial institute to look for practical solutions. So I believe soon, with the new momentum from the new MOU and also AZEC, these two ends will meet each other and dedicate us to solutions, perfect solutions to accelerate APG and MPT. So thank you very much for giving us this opportunity. Would you join me in thanking the panelists for their wonderful sharing? Thank you.
Thank you very much to Dr. Lee and our panelists. Could I please invite our moderator and panelists to the center of the stage for a quick photo opportunity together? A reflection perhaps of positive momentum moving forward, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you once again, Dr. Lee, Ms. Nadila Shani, Mr. Abdul Rahim, Mr. Yagi, and of course, Mr. Mitsuhashi, for those fantastic insights into the ASEAN Power Grid. And while infrastructure policy and financing hurdles certainly exist, the updates and suggestions shared from our speakers represent a positive step forward to making the ASEAN Power Grid a reality. Ladies and gentlemen, in our second session, we will turn our attention now to sustainable biofuel for vehicles. While electric vehicles continue to expand across ASEAN and globally, many countries are also advancing the use of biodiesel and bioethanol as practical low-carbon options for existing combustion engines. Next, we will hear from producers, suppliers, and private sector users of sustainable fuels who will share their ongoing initiatives, the challenges they face, and their perspectives on the future of biofuels within the AZEC region. To chair this session, I'm honored to welcome on stage Dr. Wirawat Chantanakome, Senior Consultant on Energy Policy ERIA, as our moderator, as well as his panelists. From Malaysia, Mr. Ahmad Adli Alias, Vice President of Refining, Marketing and Trading, Petronas. From Indonesia, Mr. Andri Harahap, VP Business Development, NRE, Pertamina New and Renewable Energy. From Thailand, Mr. Pongsat Promakon, Executive Director of the Energy Research Division, Ministry of Energy, Thailand. And of course, from Japan, Mr. Pras Ganesh, Executive Vice President, Toyota Motor Asia, Japan. Over to you, Dr. Wirawat.
Thank you very much indeed. I think we don't have much time, but we're going to start right now, welcome to this session, Biofuel for vehicle. So I think, as you heard, LPG is very important, but in ASEAN at the same time, the sustainable biofuels, it is not just a stoppage. I think the biofuels for ASEAN is kind of strategic solution for, today transport, system, especially when electricity, electrification, something like that may take time. So I think this session will try to reflect, on the innovation, on the cooperation, on the vision. So today we have our expert from, I would say, 4 countries, start from Thailand, the Department of Alternative Energy Development and Efficiency of the Ministry of Energy of Thailand, and then followed by Petronas, followed by Pertamina and Toyota. I'd like you to introduce yourself anyway. But anyway, without any further ado, we'd like to hear your background, maybe a few minutes under your slide. Then we come up with a Q&A. So with that, I'd like to invite Minister of Energy first to introduce yourself and present 3 minutes. Thank you. Start with Thailand. You have a flipper?
Thank you, Dr. Wirawat, and
thank you
for kind introduction. My name is, good morning, everyone. My name is Pongsat Promakon from Department of Alternative Energy and Efficiency, Ministry of Energy, Thailand. And I don't see. Okay.
The slide, please.
Okay. This is because I am only one from the government side, and we start from the biofuel development plan in Thailand. And this is show about the biofuel in Thailand. In the past, we have a long history about biofuel in Thailand, and right now we have ethanol, bioethanol, and biodiesel in action. And you can see in this slide, we have various blending ratio of ethanol and biodiesel. And for the future, we plan to expand to our fuel, like SAF for aviation fuel for the aviation sector. And also we focusing on the hydrogen. This is the, as you may know, EV coming for the replace for the ICE, internal combustion engine, but hydrogen is also have an opportunity for the heavy duty because limitation of the energy density of a battery. So we have hydrogen for our future. And for the promotion the biofuel in Thailand, we do a lot of things. As you know, biofuel are normally expensive than the fossil fuel. When we blend biofuel with fossil fuel, the price increase. And in Thailand, we use like a price incentive. We subsidy the price by use oil fund to incentivize for the people to use biodiesel. And also we develop the specification for the biodiesel and bioethanol. Before we blending biofuel with the normal fuel, we need to adjust some parameter for the biodiesel. Let me give you an example. In the past, we
increase the percent blend of the biodiesel, we need to adjust some parameter like a monocrystalline, decrease the monocrystalline in biodiesel, and also reduce the water content in diesel. And we work together with oil company and automobile to adjust and do the research development like a compatible material, and do research about road test and field test, and do research about energy efficiency. And this is a slide that shows you a long history of the biofuel in Thailand. You can see the B represent for the biodiesel, and E represent for the bioethanol. And the number follow of the B and E is represent to the how many percent blend of the biodiesel and bioethanol on in the gasoline and in diesel. You can see we have various percent blend of the biodiesel and bioethanol. And this is next two slide. This slide and next slide, I will give you information about current status of the bioethanol and biodiesel. You can see this slide. There are 28 ethanol producers and total capacity about 7 milliliters per day. And for the biodiesel, we have 14 biodiesel producers and around 12 milliliters per day. And you can see in the bottom of the slide, this is about the volume we use biodiesel and bioethanol. And for the challenge of the biodiesel, we see the advancing of the EV technology. This is the effect to the fossil fuel like diesel and benzene. And from the bottom of this slide, you can see we do a projection last year. In 5 years or 10 years, the demand of diesel and gasoline will decrease, significant increase, and also effect to leading to the decrease of the biodiesel and bioethanol. And one of the regulation in Thailand, in the past we use a subsidy from the oil fund, and next year we cannot use the oil fund to subsidy for the biofuel, biodiesel, and bioethanol. This is because of our regulation. And for the future, we as I mentioned, we cannot use biodiesel, bioethanol for the and use a subsidy. We need to adjust the type of biodiesel, bioethanol in the fueling station to decrease the management cost of the oil company. And we also promote the high value product like bio oil, bio transformer, and I also develop for the SAF for the our future for the aviation sector. And as I mentioned, hydrogen is also our future. And in conclusion, I want to tell you about Thailand, maintain, promote biofuel, and we need to adjust some mechanism, and we're seeking for the opportunity for the new fuel. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Dr. Pongsak. You have shown the overall picture, of the biofuels roadmap for Thailand toward decarbonization. Indeed. Actually, the Department of the Alternative Energy Development and Efficiency, or DD, I think they play a kind of important role to support ethanol and biodiesel blending mandates, from E10, 20, E85 toward B20. Currently, you use B7, right? Yes. In temporarily, just depend on the market. And now, I think that you explore for the bio-refinery as well, right? And aviation biofuel like SAF. But thank you very much. We come back to you again on this, to the question. So without time limit, so I'd like to move on to our Vice President. I'd like to invite our President, Dr. Adli, to be the second speaker from Petronas.
Not doctor.
It's okay. Introduce yourself, please.
All right, thank you, Tante Wirawat.
Go ahead.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera Ohayo gozaimasu. Very quickly, I'm Adli, heading up the refining, marketing, trading, and of Petronas. Of course, all the refineries in Malaysia today, trading of crude and lubricant products across more than 100 countries under my purview. But very quickly, I know there's a time limit and I'll dispense with the pleasantries, but thank you for the organizers for having me here. How are we enabling low carbon mobility? Malaysia as a country has also introduced B10 and to some instances B20. So Petronas as a oil manufacturer and producer in Malaysia, we are supporting that agenda. But there are also hard to abate vehicles, if you can call it, transport sectors. In this case, if you talk about the aviation industry, the marine industry, you know, the current solution to low carbon mobility like electric vehicles may not be able to support these industries. And again, to provide a context, I just recently bought an EV car. I didn't realize how heavy it is, but for a 95 kilowatt battery, it could range between 450 to 700 kg. And that will give you approximately 450 kilometers. So now imagine if you had a plane that would go thousands of kilometers and how heavy that battery would be. And therefore, the solution to this would be like sustainable aviation fuel, as mentioned by the panelists from Energy Ministry of Thailand. So what are we doing in that area? We recently took FID of a biofuels refinery in Pengerang, which with all intent and purposes is to manufacture sustainable aviation fuel over and above HVO, hydrotreated vegetable oil, which is a straight drop into, or a straight drop or substitute to diesel. Today we have B10, B20, and I know my neighbors in Indonesia are planning to go to B50, but there are always challenges around the blend wall. But if you have HVO as an alternative, it can be a straight drop, and 100% could be used to substitute your conventional diesel. And why are we building this biofuel refinery? As most of us would know, the end-to-end life cycle of a biofuel, in this case, a HEFA technology, would reduce your carbon footprint between 70 to 80%. So that's a significant improvement in terms of us enabling that low carbon fuels into the industry. And of course, I need to mention that this biofuel refinery is in collaboration with two other parties, in particular, Eni of Italy and also Euglena of Japan. So the challenges, some of the key challenges that we are facing is around feedstock, and that's why I'll talk a little bit about it later when I give it the opportunity. I presume we'll do a little bit of, deliberation around some of the key challenges around biofuels. Finally, in order for us to make sure that we have sustainable delivery of an ecosystem that makes sure that biofuels continue to be the transition fuel until we get into a real, if I can speak to, our ambition would probably be pure electrification, hydrogen as the final ambition. But in between that, in order for us to ensure liquid fuel is still delivered in a form of a more lower carbon, again, talking to biofuels, these are the 5 pillars that I would like to talk to a little bit more. But given the time constraint, I don't know, Dr. Wirat, was it still 3 minutes or 5? Because with 3 minutes, my time is up, but very quickly, 4. 4, my time is still up now. But feedstock, very important element, because today the HEFA technology uses feedstock, which is all competing around the same, used cooking oil, palm oil, mill effluent, tallows. So we're all competing in the same space, and there are limited supply of feedstock. Infrastructure, very important. Recently, we tested the infrastructure in KLIA to locally blend SAF and actually pass it into our multi-product pipeline from Malacca right into KLIA, because system readiness is going to be very critical for us to ensure that we are able to sustainably deliver and scale up biofuel. Policy, I think as the representative from Energy of Thailand, Ministry of Energy from Thailand just now mentioned, policy is going to be very important. I implore why Thailand is actually reducing subsidies for me, it has to be public and also private sector involvement, which could include, if it's not subsidy, then penalties like carbon taxes. Finally, ISCC certification is very critical to ensure that we deliver on that biofuel agenda, and also technology and consumerism around being able to pay, and technology bringing the price of products down. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Vice President. I think very clear, within the limited time. I think your company, like Pertamina, have been contributing a lot to the Malaysian biofuel roadmap, right? Toward B30 and B7 perhaps for industrial, B20 for transport, something like that. It's quite clear. And you talk about SAF. Let's discuss about SAF after this, because SAF is another biofuel that's going to come for sustainability. So let me move to the third one. Our Vice President Andre from Pertamina, please introduce yourself again, and you have 3 minutes ago, something like that.
Okay, thank you very much. A very good morning to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, moderator, and thank you for the organizer for the kind invitation. My name is Andre Harahap. I'm a VP Business Development for New and Renewable Energy for Pertamina Subholding New and Renewable Energy. Because we have a limited time, which is, it was 5 minutes, but now it's only 2.5 minutes. Okay, we'll try to deal with it. Just a quick one while I'll also introducing my organization. So in Pertamina, we have a dual growth strategy, which is, of course, maximizing our legacy business, which is the fossil fuel, obviously, because we are a fully integrated company. And we are also building low carbon solutions and businesses, which is on the right-hand side, right, which is where my organization is. So within our portfolio, quite a bit of a diverse and broad portfolio. We have a geothermal portfolios. We have solar, wind. We have a gas to power. We are developing green hydrogen. We are also doing carbon trading. We are also working on CCS with our sisters companies of the upstream subholding. But today, of course, I'm going to share with you about the biofuel, more specifically also on bioethanol. So this is our organization. Where I am is in the one in the middle, which is the green one, that is in charge for power and new and renewable energy. And in this specific context, we are developing the bioethanol portfolio. Pertamina, as state-owned companies, of course, have been in the field of biofuels, right? We started the journey, of course, in the biodiesel. We have products already now, as mentioned by previous speakers. We are in advanced stage. We are now in B35, going towards B40, and very soon next year, the government has set the target to go on B50, right? While on the bioethanol side, we are still having room to catch, right? At the moment, we are starting the development of E5 with the Pertamax Green 95 products. And the other one, which is to go on more a green solution for diesel, we are working on the HVO feedstocks, as well as UCO for the sustainable aviation fuel. Now, as I mentioned that we are quite advanced in fact, maybe very advanced amongst ASEAN countries. We are now B35 going to B40 and B50. You know, I'm glad when Indonesia is ahead amongst the peers. We just lost our football team from the World Cup, but here we are winning. So it's a good news, right? Just to say that, of course, there are challenges, right? From technical issues, from availability of the feedstock, as well as the availability of the fund to compensate the use of the FAME that is bought by Pertamina to blend, right? But however, we are working, of course, to expand our plantations with the expansion of the upstream side as well. Now, on bioethanol, as I mentioned, we have still room to catch quite a bit. We have laid out our roadmap in 4 phases. The first one is obviously to utilize the available but yet not sustainable in terms of business continuity of the feedstock, which is molasses, right? So Indonesia is still now a net importer of the sugar for consumptions. Therefore, we cannot use our sugar cane to make bioethanol, but we use the molasses. However, the molasses price has been fluctuating, and in the recent year or so, the price has been very high because our neighboring countries, Philippines and some of it to Thailand, is importing for the bioethanol production. However, today's environment has changed, right? That brings down the molasses price. So we can then hope that our bioethanol program can move ahead, while we're also developing the other feedstock, which is the palm sugar, sorghum, and also multi-feedstock. 1 minute. Okay. Let me just finish my sharing. So the previous speaker mentioned that was just the introduction, but not yet the challenge. So these are the challenge, right? The policy and regulatory alignment, which is the regulation to make sure that the feedstock is available and sustainable, will be a key to roll out the long-term plan or long-term strategy for biofuel, and be it biodiesel or bioethanol, right? The second is, of course, related to that is the availability of the feedstock. Now, in Indonesia, we are still putting excise or cukai or excise fee to the bioethanol fuel grade. We are asking government to lift or to waive for it, because it contributes almost 10% of the final price of the retail of the gasoline, right? And then, of course, the build of the infrastructures and the improvement of the technical challenges would be required for the successful program of biofuel going forward. Now, lastly, of course, Pertamina is very open and looking forward for collaboration. I think the key takeaway, if there's anything, is a collaboration between stakeholders and between countries to build together the ecosystem of the biofuels, and we are welcoming potential partners to participate as equity partners, as a feedstocks alliance, co-developing projects. Of course, we are also looking always for financial funding, technology partnerships, as well as work together on policy between government. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, the VP Andre. I think you have shown us very clear on the status of the biofuel production to show direction and challenge. This is very important. Then discuss more during the Q&A. But I'd like to touch upon the direction that toward B50, right? Now, B35 in place, right, currently. So I think I'd like to comment that Pertamina planning to transition from volume-based mandates to more sustainability focused and export-ready biofuel is your pathway in the future. So I think you can talk more on that in the Q&A. So last but not least, I'd like to invite our Executive Vice President, Mr. Pras of Toyota, to introduce yourself and, again, to refinement. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. First of all, it's a pleasure to be here. My name is Pras and I'm with Toyota. I'm not going to be talking too much about my company. I hope you are aware of who we are and what we do. Today I wanted to talk very specifically about the topic that we have here. Since this is also about energy transition and emissions, I would like to keep the energy level as high as possible during my presentation. So first of all, when it comes to Toyota, Toyota actually set up its ambition related to carbon neutrality 10 years ago, in 2015, when we had the Paris Accord, where we actually spoke about trying to go to zero emissions, fundamentally from new car sales by 2050. And then in 2021, we kind of recommitted to this, including pulling forward some of our targets like plant CO2. But our approach was always a bit different from other companies. Our approach was not that we will go into a single pathway, which is only electrification, because we recognize that actually the focus should be on carbon and not really focused on a specific technology, because there are many issues when it comes to emissions, when it comes to economics, when it comes to consumers that require to be properly considered. And that's the reason why we kind of approached it through what we call the multiple pathway approach. This is very much aligned also with the Japanese government and Keisansho, so we appreciate the support and advice that we get always from the Japanese government in this area. When it comes to the multiple pathway, our approach is that in certain segments, of course, zero emission vehicles like battery electric vehicles and fuel cell electric vehicles, and I'm only talking about tailpipe emissions, are suitable. We believe that it comes to electrification, the most optimal electrification solution for mass electrification, especially in the next 10 years, is probably hybrid electric vehicles. And then we also believe that we have to look at internal combustion engines and how can we further reduce the emissions even on internal combustion engines, because it has to become a suitable solution that works in every country. We have to understand that we do not operate only in markets like Norway. We have to operate everywhere. And when we look at consumers and we look at mobility, and very importantly, when we look at the energy source in each country, we have to align with the energy sources as well. Now, very specifically talking about biofuel, we strongly believe that biofuel has a key role through what we call the 3 E's, emissions, economics, and energy security. And I'll talk a bit about this, but I also want to kind of very clearly mention that we think that low-carbon biofuels are a very strong transition technology before we can get to second-generation biofuels or carbon-neutral fuels that we are still working on. So this is the area. Now, very briefly talking about the 3 E's that we have. First of all, when it comes to emissions, so of course we have biodiesel as well as bioethanol. So very specifically looking at bioethanol, we feel that E20 or E85 blends significantly reduce the tailpipe emissions that you actually have. And of course, if it is based on renewable energy or kind of biofuel itself, biogenic production, we can reduce the amount of emissions significantly. But we do also know that bioethanol has some impact, for example, on the distance and efficiency of the vehicle as well. And that's the reason why Toyota, as with many other car companies, have flexi-fuel vehicles that can allow the vehicle to be utilized even, for example, with biofuels or even without the blend. And then we also have hybrid electric vehicles that can actually bring back the power back to the original power source. So about 30% loss in kind of the efficiency can be gained back through the hybrid electric vehicles. And this is something that is now starting to gain a lot of steam in markets such as Brazil. And now we're starting to see that even in India going forward. The second big reason that we need to talk about biofuels and bioethanol is also the economics. We see that biofuels has a significant economic benefit when it comes to boosting the agricultural sector, but we also need to consider it not just from one segment, but we need to look at it from the oil import reduction, also the growth in refinery or the growth in other sectors that go along with it. So if we look at Brazil as an example, we know that about 1.4 million people are employed based on biofuel. And we also know that in the areas surrounding their plantations, about $1,000 per head GDP has also improved. And we are starting to see signs like that even in India. And the third thing, and probably the most critical issue that we need to talk about today, is also on energy security. I think geopolitics has changed a lot from 9 months ago to today. And in the current world, what is absolutely crucial is we have to understand how are we able to actually manage energy security in the most optimal way, looking at sustainable domestic alternatives in each market and avoiding geopolitical instability or over-reliance on one country or one source of energy. So it's extremely important that we look at kind of domestic sources, and we know, especially if we look at ASEAN, we have a significant amount, for example, on palm fruit or sugarcane or rice or these kind of activities that can help us grow the biofuel as well. And specifically, when we talk about the area, ASEAN, and we look at the Global South, this year we have COP30 in Brazil. It's a perfect opportunity for a lot of the Global South to start kind of enabling their own energy transition and talking about biofuels in the current geopolitical environment. The final slide I just wanted to mention before handing over and getting into the conversation is that it's not that biofuel is without challenges, and we do see challenges both on the supply side and demand side, whether it's on raw material, making sure feedstock is not kind of linked with food security or deforestation, looking at production and logistics costs, so how do we improve the productivity of the crop, or improving more facilities for logistics or refining, distribution as well to make sure that there is appropriate distribution networks, and then of course to support, for example, flexi-fuel vehicles that can be the off-taker. So this requires governments, corporate sector and academia to work together. So I think I look forward to the discussion that we will have right now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, VP Pras. I think Toyota, you are well known for the multi-pathway, right? The multi-pathway, for example, promoting hybrid, promoting fuel cell, even ICE running biofuel, or something like that. So thank you for your vision of Toyota sharing with us. We can have a Q&A for you in a minute. So without further ado, I think we have around less than 20 minutes. I think we should have a very good Q&A now. So let me move very quickly to Thailand, okay? Well, I think I understand that Thailand has been, focusing from biofuels, such as you mentioned, E20, even E85, something like that, B20, B7, for such a long time. So what is the current status, again, on biofuel production? What are the future direction and what challenges are being faced currently? Make it in few minutes for us again.
Thank you for the question. For Thailand, as I mentioned for my presentation, in the past we use oil fund to subsidy, and we have a mini type of fuel in fueling station. And when we have many type, this come with the management cost for the oil company, and we need to reduce the fuel in gasoline station and comply with like oil fund cannot subsidy. We more for the mandate for one fuel for gasoline, one fuel for diesel, and maybe E20 for gasoline, and B7 for biodiesel, for diesel. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we will come back for another alternative, but I'd like to move quickly to our Vice President Petronas. So what are the key supply chain, I would say, like feedstock, like related barrier that you are facing when you are trying to scale up the biofuels, particularly like for the heavy duty, transport, or even aviation that you're trying to say on the south. In other words, what are your biggest supply side challenges in scaling up biofuel, especially heavy duty and aviation use?
Okay, thank you. In terms of supply side, as I alluded earlier, the key challenge for us is securing the feedstock.
Yeah.
And the technology that's been proven today and adopted by many biorefineries is the HEFA technology, which uses fatty acids, for example, used cooking oil, POME, palm oil, mill effluent, PFAD, tallows. One of the things that we are very clear in Petronas is we will not compete food and waste, right?
Balance.
Food and fuel. So we would never use virgin palm oil. And it's also in terms of our meeting the ISCC requirements for export into European markets is also not allowed to use virgin. Only waste and other form of products which are more certified. Hence, the key issue for us is securing that feedstock. In most countries today, it is very fragmented. Collections are not deliberate. Sometimes it's on voluntary. You have small collectors, then you need to get an aggregator before the aggregator can get a sizable volume that goes into the biorefinery. This adds cost to all the part of that value chain. So if we get into the situation where the cost become too prohibitive, and we know sustainable aviation fuels tend to be depending, can be 2 to 5 times more expensive than conventional. That cost must come down. And also the volatility of prices in terms of CPO, which also dictates what used cooking oil would be priced at.
Yeah,
so these are some of the key concerns that we have in terms of the supply side.
Including something like CBAM. Yep. CBAM. You know CBAM EU, right? It's a kind of a barrier.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
maybe part of it affected, right? I'd like to ask you on the SAB, but before that, I'd like to move to Pertamina VP on the question like that Indonesia right now focus on biofuel, right, that you mentioned. Tell us again what the status of biofuel production and the issue of direction that I think you want to share more detail on challenges.
Yeah, thank you very much for a question. When I hear my fellow panelists share, actually the challenges in Indonesia are not very different and in fact very similar, right? We are talking about the availability and sustainability of the feedstocks, and then in Thailand has already implemented the mandatory blending for the ethanol and biodiesel. So I think if we can learn from each other and actually implement what has been the success, I think those challenges can be overcome. In Indonesia, one of the main challenges of the adoption of the bioethanol is currently there is not yet a mandatory blend from the government for the bioethanol blend to the gasoline. Why? Because of the availability of the feedstock. Exactly. So everything is interrelated, right? I think that is one, harmonization of the policy, and then the strengthening of the supply chain will be the enabler. And also bringing the new potential of feedstocks. I have not mentioned that Pertamina at the moment is developing a new, actually is very well-known crops, which is oil, not oil, it's a sugar palm. It's arenga pinata, which in Indonesia, or maybe you use it in a brown sugar or a palm sugar as a commodity. We can turn that also to make for ethanol, obviously. Now, why it has not been developed? Because this crop is grown not being cultivated so far, right? It's gone in the wild, in the forest, etc.
It's costly. So,
costly, yeah. So and also a difficulty to harvest it, to get the sap, right? People have to climb over like 20 meters of this sugar palm tree to get 10 liters, 20 liters of the sap. Now, Pertamina New and Renewable Energy is looking into this very deeply because we know that the yield to convert it from a liter of sap into bioethanol is actually 4 to 8 times more than the molasses or sugarcane, right? So if we can cultivate it, that, and then make efficient the harvesting and mechanization of this from the farmers, I think the potential is huge. And this crop is actually growing in you don't really need like a fertilizer you would have in oil palm, right? And it's actually growing also in degraded forests. So it's also good for reforestations. It also can be used, of course, for food and other uses. So we are trying to bring other source of non-edible feedstocks to be used rather than using, of course, what's competing with the food.
Thank you very much. I think we need to put further effort on that because, not only technical point of view, but the kind of trade barriers, environment thing like that, gonna be important, that you don't do it, you're gonna lose the market at the end of the day. Anyway, quickly, thank you so much. Now, to Toyota, I'd like to ask this question long ago, but this time I would ask. Tell me more on the role of your biofuel. I mean, like in ASEAN or in some countries, the EV transition, may take a long time, as you know, especially in the far away rural area or even on the heavy duty segment. So how just how does Toyota view ICE compatible biofuel?
Yeah, thank you very much. So I think the first thing to consider is when we start talking about electrification in ASEAN, as I briefly mentioned, even if we look at emissions, economics, and consumer behavior, there's probably a threshold beyond which electrification cannot go. So we still see, even in 2035, 2040, there will still be a significant amount of internal combustion-based engines and fossil fuel-based vehicles that will be required. In that context, if we start looking at, for example, passenger vehicles and commercial vehicles, we may need to look at these slightly differently. For passenger vehicles, we think ethanol blends are very suitable. Also in terms of utilizing ethanol blends, linking it with hybrid engines, flexi-fuel hybrid engines. So we think this actually can become truly an alternative that can become low-carbon solutions that can be a very suitable solution for the public. And even when we start looking at commercial vehicles, previously, of course, we were looking a lot at hydrogen, but we also look at the economics, because when we talk about sustainability, fundamentally it's two things. It's economic sustainability and environmental sustainability.
Yes,
There's no point talking about one without the other. So what must be clearly understood is that for hydrogen, we're looking at kind of the TCO, vis-a-vis diesel, it's still going to take a bit of time. And in that context, we still see that, for example, biodiesel blends, as well as even bioethanol, for example, for longer distance and lighter loading, can be suitable solutions. So we still see a lot of potential. The final point I just wanted to mention is, we have to understand that this is something that ASEAN can control. Much more than kind of being determinant on any other external factor. So that's the reason why I'm very bullish and very positive, even by seeing Asta Cita movement in Indonesia or movement recently in Malaysia as well as Thailand. And we see Brazil and India's movement. I think this is the time when we will see a lot more focus back onto biofuel in the next few years.
Interesting, that's why Toyota or even Honda, they don't try to move 100% on EV because of this. You have kind of alternative and waiting for some change. Anyway, because it's transitional period. If you go 100% EV, maybe another story. So that's why biofuels still play. Do you think so?
Yes, absolutely. And I don't think, maybe this may not be the popular opinion, but Toyota has always said this. We do not think EV is the only solution. I think the focus should be on carbon and not on the technology. The technology will change. Between now and 2050, I don't think 20 years ago or 25 years ago, we were talking about EVs. So why should we be talking about the technology for 2050 today? It's a bit strange.
Or perhaps from biofuel, jump to hydrogen fuel cell. You never know. Okay, let's move back to Thailand again. I think I have a second round for this time 1 minute and a half, okay? Because they're warning me now. Okay, Thailand, krab. I'd like to ask this question again to Thailand long ago. So from the policy perspective, how your government, from Thailand, plan to support emerging technologies like SAF? SAF. Tell us about that.
Okay, as I mentioned about the effect of the EV coming and effect to the oil demand decrease significant, and when we biodiesel and biofuel decrease and raw material, we need to want to shift to outer fuel. SAF is one option for us. We can produce SAF from alcohol to jet pathway and can produce from raw material that we were used to produce the biodiesel also. This is the one reason for us. And another one reason is about, as you know, Thailand want to be the hub of transportation, and we have planning to increase the infrastructure like an airport. And one of the key reasons for the green travel is SAF. This is a key mention.
You put SAF into the national plan already, right?
Yes, yes. In Thailand, 80% of jet fuel in Thailand, 80% from international flight and 20% is a domestic flight.
So the same question now, go to our vice president here. I do understand that the Vatamina is really actively promoting the kind of SAF. I see the company on SAF under you, right? Yes. SAF company. So it means how serious are you to go for, advancing the SAF?
Okay, for Petronas, we have an ambition to be net zero by 2050, and the means to get there, having a biofuel refinery is one of the few steps to get there, besides some of the things that also Pertamina is doing, like CCS and all that. So we are very clear around our pathway to get there. We play a role in advocating the government also to some extent to support the new energy transition roadmap, which have that ambition. So it's very critical for us to play that role to also shape it. So here we are not just purely from a commercial perspective, but we're shaping towards that low carbon fuel economy.
Okay. Thank you. I think, if we go SAF, I would suggest that we should go like a joint project. Indonesia, Thailand, Malaysia, because palm oil, right? So we can solve problem among others. You have problem with EU or not, I do not know, but if Thailand, we don't have problem, then we can work together on something to supplement each other. What do you think about that?
By all means, but it doesn't have to be a cooperation at the level of that entity that produces that biofuels. But if we can harmonize all the policies across the five, or at least the major economies within ASEAN, then we also can ensure that there's consistency in the standards.
Okay.
Flex fuel vehicles, as our friend from Toyota mentioned. All these would be critical for us to advance that low carbon economy.
Good news is that I think I talked to Irina, director, yesterday. I think Irina is working on SAF roadmap for ASEAN, and it's gonna come up in the next 2 months. So I think we can share with you, and then from that we can work together. I think single isolation not good to move on this kind of thing. So quickly, we still have around 10 minutes. I hope. Our Vice President from Pertamina, I'd like to ask you about, what is needed from public and private sector to promote adoption of the low carbon fuels, such as biofuel, in your perspective, public and private promote?
Yeah, I think I would like to echo what my colleague from Petronas mentioned, right? I think what the private, of course, would need to do in terms of to promote the adoption of the biofuel is it would start from the harmonization of the policy. If we talk about ASEAN, we speak about SAF. I think that should be a one harmonized regulation of the mandatory SAF usage, because it's very difficult to implement a SAF adoption if one country is mandating it 1%, 2%, whatever, while the other countries doesn't, right? Especially for cross-borders kind of a transportation, such as airplanes, right? So I think that would be the important thing. From the public, I think what's very important as well is the communication and also the education.
Regulation.
Yes, of the why it is important for all of us. Right? It's not important only for the companies to generate business, generate revenue, the triple profitability, sustainability model, but also for all of us, right? Maybe among the audience there are some Indonesians, but maybe also it overheard across the border. In the recent weeks, there has been a hype of the international fuel distributors doesn't have a gasoline products because of the importation regulation.
Okay.
And it has been brought to the attention because the international distributors doesn't want to offtake the fuel that has been provided because it has ethanol, right? So it's strange. We are all talking about the E5, E10, while here or back home, there's an issue of the base fuel having ethanol. So the public is I think it's a misleaded, right? I think what's important as well is the education and the proper and the real good communication of the importance of this,
particularly about the cost.
Of course, I mean,
mortality of
cost
cost.
is
That is the main, I think.
is by default, right? I mean, coming
Yeah.
back to the mandatory thing, in Indonesia we don't yet have the mandatory blending of ethanol.
We have
of course,
we have 2 minutes.
Yes.
Anyway, I like to perhaps thank you very much. I think clear. But one last minute, I like to go through the Toyota because I mean I like you to say more about the public-private partnership in terms of Toyota perspective. That how do you think that this kind of partnership can accelerate supply demand or not? I mean the gap between vehicle technology and fuel supply.
It just
R&D sandbox, something like that.
I mean, very frankly, I think the technology is there. The technology is completely available today.
Yes,
so if you're talking about flexi-fuel vehicles, if you're talking about vehicles that can actually manage different blends even for biodiesel or even for FFV hybrids, we have all of the technology. The question that is really required is awareness to the public, policy that's supporting. I think KOBORI-san mentioned it right at the beginning, which I strongly agree with. We need to have unification of standards, certification, and regulation. If there's a unified standard, certification, and regulation, I think a lot of the current hesitation can be kind of overcome. And just one final point based on some of the discussion, even as our gentlemen, and we are, by the way, talking about partnership, we're working very closely with Pertamina as well on different kind of co-projects, as well as in Thailand with CP Group, SCG, and PTT as well. But what we do see is that there is a misunderstanding or sometimes hype that is mentioned related to food security issues. For example, in Brazil, most of the, I think almost all of the bioethanol that is produced that can offtake 50% of the oil importation is actually coming only from 2% of land, and this is mainly degraded land. So, but there is a lot of accusations about, food security or deforestation. So I think we need a standard of validation of the land and validation of the production. So I think it's questions of these standards, and maybe we definitely need governments. We need, companies such as Pertamina, Petronas, and of course people like us to work together.
I think we have to well balance the nexus, nexus. I have one last minute, really. I like to spend a few seconds with all of you, and I don't want to close by myself. I want each of you to say a word. What is the single most important enabler to advance sustainable fuels in the region of ASEAN in the next 5 years? Don't too long. Start from you.
Partnership.
Partnership?
Yep.
Okay.
That's critical for us to ensure that we can move this.
Take away, partnership. Pertamina.
Okay, as the second 2 words then, it's a collaboration and harmonization.
Okay, clear. Thailand.
For Thailand, it is unite. I think we need to work together.
Okay, together, partnership again. And last?
Policy.
Policy. Okay, so with that, it's closed my session. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rawat, and all our panelists. If we could kindly invite our moderator and panelists to just step forward to the center of the stage for a quick photo to commemorate this moment. Let's give them another round of applause. That was very insightful and very fascinating look into sustainable biofuels and also flexi-fuel vehicles in this region. Of course, we have to have the mandatory thumbs up photo. Thank you so much, Dr. Virat, Mr. Ahmad Adli, Mr. Andri, Mr. Pongsak, and of course, Mr. Pras. Again, ladies and gentlemen, we see how partnership, harmonization, collaboration, and policy are going to be vital to overcoming common challenges and ensuring the development of flexi-fuel vehicles and the expansion of biofuels as a transition fuel across the region en route to a true zero-emission, energy-secure alternative for the future. All right, ladies and gentlemen, for the next session, we're going to spend around 15 minutes hearing from representatives of key international energy organizations as they present their reports on transition finance. Our first report, prepared by ERIA, ADB, and METI, will be presented by Mr. Kosin Pongsapol, Senior Financial Sector Specialist, Economic Research and Development Impact Department of the Asian Development Bank. Over to you, Mr. Pongsapol. And of course, we heard earlier in all of our panel discussions, financing is going to be a very big part of energy security in the future. Over to you, sir.
Right, thank you very much. And it has been a long morning, and apologies, to be, speaking, without any coffee break, for all of you. So I'll keep my session short so that we can, back on track in terms of our time. So this morning, it's our, privilege, to be presenting this, report on decarbonizing Southeast Asia's hard to abate and high emitting sectors, transition finance, technologies, and policy approaches on behalf of the Asian Development Bank, ADB, and also our partners, the Ministry of Economy and Trade and Industry of Japan, as well as the Economic Research Institute for Southeast, for ASEAN and East Asia or ERIA. So in my session, I will give you very briefly an overview of the report, which will set the stage, for the panel discussion to discuss the outcome of this report in more details. So as many of you may know, our region has experienced rapid economic growth in recent years. That's also led to a sharp increase in energy demand, which in turn led to the increase of investment in coal and other fossil fuels power plants. This actually leads to the increasing greenhouse gas emissions in the region. But this also means that our coal-fired power plants are still relatively young, right? And they are locked in into the long-term power purchase agreements, making early retirement financially and transition away from coal very difficult. So when we talk about transition or decarbonization, it's important to highlight that it is a process over time, and this cannot be done overnight. It is not only about converting to renewable energy or clean energy, but it's also about ensuring energy security and sustainability for businesses, local communities, and the reskilling of workers, as well as the well-being of their families. It's about developing a transition plan that is ambitious, credible, and verifiable, taking into account technology advancements, potential environmental and social impacts, and the alignment with international and regional targets. That is what actually investors are looking for, right? So this is not an easy task, and any delay will actually worsen the situation. So given the urgency and also the complexity of this issue, that's why METI, ERIA, and ADB, we came together to develop this report to identify key barriers and propose practical enablers for decarbonization in Southeast Asia, especially in the hard-to-abate and high-emitting sectors like power and industry, which together account for more than 20%, more than 70% of the emissions in our region. So this report calls for a combination of technology adoption, policy reforms, and transition finance as key enablers for unlocking investments in transition projects through 3 priority investment themes. You see on the left-hand side. I won't go into details. But why we are proposing these 3 investment themes? Because ASEAN countries have different starting points. We have different national priorities, and we have different key challenges, right? So a single one-size-fits-all strategy doesn't work for our region. Instead, we need a one goal with various pathways approach, focusing on 3 key investment themes in order to deliver energy transition projects at scale across the region and deployment appropriate technologies across all 3 areas. The first one is on the transition finance, which is a relatively new concept in sustainable finance in the region. As many of us may be familiar with the use of proceeds bonds, green bonds, sustainability bonds, which require the proceeds to be allocated to projects that are already green, right? Such as renewable energy projects, green buildings, low carbon transportation. But the concept of transition finance is quite new in the region, and it's only started getting traction after we introduced the ASEAN taxonomy for sustainable finance. Right, so which follow the traffic light approach and is considered a transition taxonomy for the region that paved the way for energy transition in our region. So since then, we have seen many national sustainable finance taxonomies have followed this approach. Thailand, Singapore, Vietnam, for example, to categorize projects and activities that is green in amber tiers. So this provides clarity for those activities in the amber tier with the pathway that they need to do in order to achieve the green tier, which is aligned with the global agreements. But one key feature of transition finance is that it's highly context dependent. So entities must develop transition plans that are science-based, that are credible, that are verifiable in order to attract financing. And this is particularly beneficial for those in hard-to-abate sectors, especially the utility operators and industrial sector, which we have seen that majority of them on the top row is actually tapping into this transition finance market. So as we discussed earlier, transition finance is context dependent. So the report also proposed various types of financing instruments to support decarbonization of the issuers. So we have provided several examples in the report. One is the use of sustainability-linked bonds, issuance by the government of Thailand in November last year. We were supported by ADB. With the key performance indicators linked to the reduction of 30% of national greenhouse gas emissions. So we also highlight a few other case studies using different examples of transition finance instruments that we have seen in the market. Another key area that I would like to highlight is about the importance of resilience and adaptation. So as we promote investment in clean energy, it's also important to ensure that these projects are located in areas that are resilient to climate-related impacts. So this is a great opportunity for us to address both the climate as well as the mitigation issues. So we talk about finance, right? My time is up, my apologies. But in order to accelerate energy transition in ASEAN, the two enablers stand out. First, the technology adoption, as well as the policy unlocks are equally important. And we also heard from previous session that the policies and partnership are extremely important. On technology adoption, the report also proposes 6 priority actions, as you may have seen on the left-hand side, along with the multi-layered policy approach, from macro level all the way down to the project levels to support transitions. In the report, we also highlighted different case studies, how we put together the technology adoption, policy, as well as transition finance. So you can refer to different case studies in the report, which has been went live yesterday and will be formally launched again this afternoon. So with that, I would like to end my presentation is that commitments from government is very important. Regional collaboration is very important. Partnership is very important. The speed and also the willingness of everyone in the room is also very, very important. And these issues will be discussed again in the panel discussion. So lastly, I would like to thank our colleagues from METI and ERIA for this partnership to work together to finalize this report. And on behalf of the co-authors, we would hope to see that this report will actually help catalyze into actual project developments. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation, Mr. Kosin. Could we kindly have you remain on stage as we invite up the 2 co-authors of this paper for a joint photo opportunity. We'd like to welcome Mr. Hayashi Sho of ERIA and also Mr. Kimura Norihiro of the Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry, Japan. And for our photographers, we're going to take 2 photos. For our first photo, we'll have all of the authors holding up the book in front of them, jointly symbolizing their work together on this very important report. And for our second photo, of course, we must have the mandatory thumbs up. That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give our co-authors another big round of applause. Thank you so much for your work on this. Clearly, zero emission goals can't be attained without the fund options offered by transition financing. Thank you to our report authors for highlighting the available options for public and private sector players driving sustainable energy in the region. Now, as we move on to the second report, we'd like to invite our next two speakers to stand by on stage. Our next transition finance report, prepared by the IEA, will be presented by Mr. Sadamori Keisuke, Director, Energy Markets and Security, and Mr. Yamasaki Ryo, Special Advisor, Energy Investment Unit, Office of the Chief Energy Economist. Please give them a warm welcome. Mr. Sadamori, Mr. Yamazaki, over to you.
Thank you. Thank you for this, the opportunity for the IEA to launch this very important report on transition financing. So first, the Southeast Asia is one of the fastest growing regions in the world in terms of the energy demand. Comparing the energy demand growth across the regions over the next decade, Southeast Asia stands as the second fastest, largest after India, driven by population growth and also the robust economic expansion. And this clearly demonstrates that the region will play an increasingly important role in both the global economic and energy landscape. However, the energy investment has not kept pace with the rapid growth in demand. So to sustain the region's future energy development, a substantial increase in investment will be essential. Now, of course, the part of this investment will be supported through the green finance, which plays a crucial role. However, the green finance alone will not be sufficient to deliver the full energy and the economic transitions required. So in the coming decade, alongside the continued green investment, it will be equally important to provide financing together with the transition strategies to hard-to-abate sectors where the emissions reductions are particularly difficult, and to the emerging the market and the developing economies, including this region, Southeast Asia. And this approach allows the economic activity to continue while making meaningful contributions to emissions reductions. And the financing provided with these guardrails is what we call the transition finance. Scaling up transition finance requires both public and the private players to design supportive frameworks guided by two key principles. One is credibility, and the other is inclusiveness. To ensure credibility, the clear national level guidance for the transition is important, and the follow-up process to review and update strategies is also essential. To achieve inclusiveness, it is important to recognize the value of transition finance and acknowledge that providing capital where emission reductions are most challenging is as vital as the green investments that deliver short-term emission cuts. And finally, to strengthen the value of transition finance within the international initiatives, this AZEC can serve as an important platform. It can help acknowledge the essential contributions of transition finance, overcome barriers to financial inflows into this region, and accelerate financing for the region's transitions. Now, I would like to hand over to Mr. Yamasaki, the lead author of this report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Salamori. So I will now focus on the key analysis and takeaway presented in our report. Because transition finance reflects each region's unique energy pathway, it is difficult to precisely estimate its total potential at a scale. However, to provide some indicative numbers, we analyze it based on the IEA scenario, and we estimate that over the next decade, 4 to 5 trillion of investment can be supported by transition finance. This is not an exhaustive number, but it covers a wide range of hard-to-abate sectors such as natural gas, industry, building, transport, and critical minerals. And importantly, half of this investment should be directed to emerging market and developing economies. Of course, whether these investments can be supported by transition finance, it depends on meeting key process requirements such as the existence of credible transition strategies. And just to know, the fact that some sectors are not explicitly shown here does not mean they fall out the scope of the transition finance. Even so, 4 to 5 trillion over 10 years, or roughly 400 to 500 billion annually, is comparable in scale to today's green bond market. Looking back, the green finance market expanded nearly 15-fold over the past decade, growing from a modest base to become an important driver of clean energy investment. In the coming decade, achieving a similar growth trajectory for transition finance will be essential to make tangible progress in supporting investment in hard-to-abate sector and emerging countries. As mentioned earlier, both credibility and inclusiveness are essential for scaling up transition finance. To maintain credibility, having a clear transition strategy is of course important, but tracking KPIs and ensuring continuous follow-up and update are equally critical. In our report, we provide sectoral insight on iron and steel, cement, critical mineral, and natural gas, along with recommended KPIs to help track progress in decarbonization. Also, given today's economic and geopolitical uncertainty, it is difficult to capture all factors at the initial planning stage, so strategies need to be regularly updated to remain realistic and relevant over time. On inclusiveness side, we need to consider how far the discussion on transition finance actually reaches. In many emerging economies, there are entities that have not yet developed transition strategy, not only due to lack of intent, but due to limited capacity. This includes sectors where emission reduction are particularly challenging, as well as many small and mid-sized enterprises. So in our report, we focus on those who have opted out or being left out of the transition finance discussion. The key question is how to bring these players into the conversation, enabling them to continue investing while advancing their own pathway toward emission reduction, rather than excluding them from the transition process. Okay, so I'd like to conclude our presentation with this page. Transition finance holds the potential to support 4 to 5 trillion of investment over the next decade. However, it has not yet reached its full potential. Unlocking this potential will require both credibility and inclusiveness, as we have discussed. And this calls for the effort of both policymakers and stakeholders. To strengthen credibility, government can provide clear national level guidance, such as sectoral transition roadmap. Also, robust follow-up mechanisms on the private side are equally vital. At the same time, enhancing the international recognition and repositioning of transition finance is essential. The true value of transition finance lies in its ability to enable progress in areas where decarbonization is difficult, where investment needs are urgent, and where existing mainstream approaches are not sufficient. So its core value lies in engaging with these realities, not avoiding them. With the right support structure in place, transition finance can move from being seen as a second tier of global finance to becoming a second pillar of global financing for the transition. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Could we please invite both speakers to the center of the stage for a quick photo, Mr. Sadamori and, of course, Mr. Yamasaki. And, of course, ladies and gentlemen, our first photo will be with the report itself. And, of course, a second photo with our thumbs up. Thank you so much to Mr. Sadamori and Mr. Yamasaki. Another big round of applause for our speakers for presenting that report. And with that, we thank our international energy organizations for their diligence in preparing and presenting their transition finance reports. And now, ladies and gentlemen, with the insight derived from both reports, we now arrive at our last session, a timely discussion on transition finance. As the shift to net zero cannot be achieved in a single step, steady and realistic progress during the transition period is essential. This underscores the need for financial mechanisms that mobilize both public and private investment. Now we will hear from financial institutions and international organizations involved in transition finance as they share their initiatives, challenges, and perspectives on supporting the path towards decarbonization. To chair this session, I'm honored to welcome on stage Dr. Han Po-min, Senior Energy Economist from ERIA, as our moderator, as well as his panelists. Over to you, Dr. Han.
Thank you so much. Very good afternoon. We are standing between the lunch, so hope we all keep at the time. So the final session here is on transition finance, which is quite important. Following the two reports just launched by the ERIA, ADB, and METI, and followed by IEA, I think that's a very nice scene for today this session discussion. As you may know that this region, particularly Asia, their energy system particularly is more fossil-based energy system. So to make sure they are moving away from that, it needs financing. And to do that, transition finance is very critical to allow those countries to move away gradually from this carbon-intensive energy system toward more efficient and low-carbon energy system. In this way, I think we're able to assemble the right panel today. But as the presentation highlights, we need very intensive, large capital, basically, to how to unlock this private and public finance is quite important to ensure that we have enough capital to finance this energy transition. Without further ado, we have four distinguished panelists today. I think you have 5 minutes each. And I will start off with Mr. Kenji Kato, the Chief Representative, Japan Bank for International Cooperation. And the floor is yours, please.
Thank you, Dr. Han. Good afternoon, maybe not afternoon, before lunch. Hello, everybody. Thank you for inviting our bank to this panel session. Our bank, maybe some of you already know our name. We're Japan Bank for International Cooperation. We call ourselves policy-based financial institutions. We used to be like export credit agencies, but we're kind of a mixture of like DFIs and ECAs, and we now call ourselves policy-based financing, which is not like we are based on policy. We work with the policy. So we worked together with the Japanese government and with the clients to make the policy better and to make things go well. Basically, we have 4 missions in our law to support the Japanese economy. It's written here. The one is the natural resources. We are poor of the natural resources. So to promote the overseas development of the securement of the resources, which is very important for Japan, we finance the developing projects all over the world. And another one is to support the overseas business development of the Japanese corporates. So maintaining and improving the international competitiveness of the Japanese industries. And the other mission is to environmental preservation, so promoting the overseas business and having the purpose of preserving the global environment. We support that as our mission. And basic information, obviously, our headquarters in Tokyo, but we have 18 rep offices, and I'm one of the chief rep of. I am stationing in Singapore, which covers all the ASEAN regions, including Australia, so we should say APAC. Our outstanding of our asset is about $106 billion US as of March 2025. So let me briefly introduce you about our 5th medium-term business plan, which stipulates a very important role in the sustainability finance. So we aim to contribute towards realizing both carbon neutrality and economic growth. So we will support the conversions of the cleaner energies in saving power generation facilities in conjunction with introducing renewable energies and strengthening grids. But while we confirm and we have a close dialogue with countries, each partner's country's roadmap for carbon neutrality, this is meaning that we're not only supporting the renewable energies, but we are supporting the transition energies. And this, I will go into details in the later, but it obviously include gas. So let me introduce our activities in renewable project in ASEAN recently. This is one project in the geothermal power expansion project and Waralabo project. But this is not obviously the transition, but it's a green energy. But I want to focus on the left-hand side, at how we approach this kind of projects. So basically, we start with identifying the social issues in the host country. So the countries here in ASEAN, we have like an engaging dialogue with the host countries. And we define what are the social issues in each countries. And then we move forward to proposing solutions. And what we can do as a JBIC in this part is that we have a strong network with Japanese clients. We see Kansai Electric in the other panels, but not only Kansai Electric, but all the other companies are our clients. And we know their technologies. We've been financing these clients for 70 years by providing project financing, corporate financing, export financing, all this. So we will form a Japanese international consortium in partnership with the foreign companies. Then we'll provide these kind of solutions, concrete solutions toward their projects. And finally, of course, we will go into the financing sections to realize these projects. So this is kind of approach that we take in the global projects. And first part of the engagement with the host countries, we recently start with meeting very high officials in the government. So we see Prime Minister Anwar in this picture. This is with Chairman Maeda. Chairman Maeda and Prime Minister Anwar had a dialogue, and we discussed about how we realize the APG, which was the one topic in the panel. And then we go down to more realistic way of providing solutions. So we have like this kind of workshop. This is an example of the workshop together with Tenaga, who was also in the panel. And we provided kind of this workshop together with like Sumitomo Electric or Hitachi Energy, Toshiba, Kansai together to provide this kind of workshop to actually present the solutions. And recent move within this region that we had an MOU with Sarawak Energy to advance regional decarbonization. So these kind of the dialogues we start with. And maybe my time is up. Okay, fine. I will go into details later, but one thing I want to mention is that we also support gas as a transition finance. And so I think the topic is transition finance for this session. And I will go details in the later part, how we can support gas project. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kato-san, for your insights. I think without delay, I think if the slide is ready, but JBIC have very hands-on experience in providing financing. And next we will see how the bank can unlock this potential to accelerate the credible project around the transition finance. So the next speaker will be from Mr. Pradeep Thanakan, the Director of Energy Transition from Asian Development Bank. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you very much, and good morning to all of you. And thanks to AZEC for inviting the Asian Development Bank to this event and to this panel. I think as you heard earlier today, both from the ADB, my colleague, and from IEA, there is a fair amount of momentum on green finance. Now we need to double, triple, or even quadruple the amount of financing that's going towards greenfield clean energy projects. There is a significant second need that I think we want to focus on today, which is really transition finance, focusing on what we call the high emitting and the hard to abate sectors. So when you look at transition finance, you're really looking at a ladder of options or mitigation measures, right? You first what you want to do is you want to maximize energy efficiency. That is the lowest hanging fruit possible. Once you've done that, you need to electrify industrial processes to the extent you can, and transportation. And in order to be able to do that using renewables to the highest levels, you need to interconnect the power grid. You heard all about the APG and that effort earlier today as well. But there are still things that electrification cannot meet, which, and that's where you look at green and alternative fuels, such as SAF in some cases, also green ammonia, green methanol, and so on. Then there is still the problem of existing brownfield fossil fuel assets, coal and gas. These are often contracted, and they persist and operate for decades into the future. So we need to be able to also abate emissions from those, including early termination. And finally, the residual carbon dioxide emissions that are prevalent, they need to be captured, utilized, or stored. Now, this is a simplistic slide. It doesn't mean that these steps are sequential or that this is the order of how you would pursue them. There are opportunities and prospects where you can actually do a couple of them together, or you might even reverse the order. But again, like most models, it is a simplistic presentation. Second is, what does it really take to do these kinds of transition finance projects? As you heard earlier today, you need clear plans. You need credible narratives at the country level that there is a net zero plan in place. This plan has been well thought through. You have modeled how you're going to get there, and you have accompanying policies in place. The second is you need keystone projects. Now, you need certain what we call first-of-a-kind projects that will actually move the market, demonstrate technologies, bring stakeholders together, and create a certain amount of confidence which will then scale the market. You need pools of capital, and this pools of capital has to be from multiple sources. They have to be blended finance is really an option to deliver on this. And then you need people. You heard all about the role of experts, the role of stakeholders, the role of champions within government and within the private sector. And finally, partnerships. Again, something that was mentioned earlier today. You need partnerships between government and the private sector. Within the government, you need partnerships between the state and the local government. And finally, you need partnerships between countries. Now, if you look at some of the largest sort of energy transition projects that are being experimented with globally, and by the way, sorry for that typo, it should be first of a kind and not first of a king. That was just to make sure if you guys are actually paying attention and can catch that typo. But let's look at what does it take to get first a few of these projects off the ground. The first thing is you need proven customer demand. You heard that several times in the panel earlier. You need a clear, forward-looking market demand. This can come through mandates, it can come through targets, or it can come through green premium markets, or through taxes. But the project proponent needs to know that their product will have a market into the decades into the future. Second, you need experienced leadership. These projects are complex. They are first of a kind. You need to have people that can pull this off. People who you frankly have extremely high levels of expertise. Third, you need to de-risk them. If you look at the first carbon dioxide CCUS as a storage project in Norway, or you look at the first green steel project that's picking up, or you look at the new interconnector that was talked about earlier between Germany and the UK. There is strong government ownership of these projects. Government comes in with de-risking in the form of it could be grants, it could be credit enhancement, it could be guarantees. And just the fact that you have governments shaking hands and deciding to go ahead with these strategic projects helps in de-risking. And then you need optimal project location and execution. It's not a surprise that the first green ammonia export projects in the world are being sited in Saudi Arabia, in Oman, in India, and potentially in sub-Saharan Africa, because that's where you have the lowest cost of electricity. And you need to put these projects in places where you have the requisite infrastructure, the people, and access to low-cost renewables. So I just want to have a call to action in this room and say, look, if we really want to talk about transition finance, you saw the launch of 2 reports. We've set the context, we've identified the issues, but if you really want to move the agenda, we need to talk about projects in the region. It could be the first CCUS project that involves companies in the region, green ammonia, for instance, blue methanol from natural gas with CCS, or eco-industrial parks. So perhaps during the Q&A session, we can talk a bit more about this. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Mr. Pradeep. Very good insight into how securing finance, and also you set a key example of practical project in transition finance already. I think without further ado, we move to the next speaker, Mr. Ryo Yamazaki-san, the Special Advisor for Energy Investment Unit from IEA. The floor is yours.
Yes, thank you very much. So as we have just presented our overview, so let me now elaborate a few points. And the first one is, yes, this slide, so about the 4 to 5 trillion in investment could be supported by transition finance. So again, this figure is not exhaustive, and it is the result of our analytical aggregation. As the phrase can be supported, implies that these investments are not automatically classified as transition finance, because the presence of the credible transition strategy is one of the most essential requirements for this. Likewise, the areas not included here are not excluded from transition finance. Our estimates simply reflect the scope of the IEA's analysis and expertise, focusing primarily on the energy and end-use sectors. So this calculation covers investments such as energy efficiency in end-use sectors, fuel switching, especially in emerging countries, emission reduction technology in industry, and natural gas distribution network or energy project, and gas fire that integrate emission reduction measures. So I think this has some link with Mr. Kato mentioned in earlier. And all of these represent critical investment areas in the coming decade. Their importance is particularly high in emerging economies, where applying technology that fit into the green category remains more challenging. And to address the key question of why transition finance has not yet unlocked its full potential, our report identifies several key challenges as shown here. So first, in terms of credibility, the foundation lies in strategic planning and consistent follow-up. While we do not prescribe specific requirements for transition strategy, the KPIs I mentioned can serve as practical tools within the planning process. And also tracking process against them is essential for build credibility. So that's the reason why we provide analysis for the iron, steel, cement, critical minerals, natural gas in our report. And equally important is the follow-up process, which will require further discussion going forward. Transition is, of course, a long-term journey, and it is difficult to anticipate all the change that may occur along the way. Therefore, maintaining momentum requires updates to strategy and continuous adaptation to evolving conditions. And on the expansion of the expanding finance flow, we have already discussed the importance of inclusiveness. So I would like to address the remaining point. So this table shows the status of advanced economy and emerging market and developing economies. As you can see, the second and third columns present the size of equity and bond markets, and it clearly indicates that capital markets in EMDE are much smaller than those in advanced economies. However, the fourth column illustrates that EMDE other than China is where the largest energy investment will be needed over the next decades. This makes cross-border capital inflow essential. But in discussion on transition finance, difference in regional frameworks and energy transition pathway sometimes create a barrier to its active use. Indeed, our report, we conducted a survey of more than 20 global finance institutions, and we found that nearly half of the bank and about 1/3 of institutional investors explicitly consider both home country and host country's framework when making investment decisions. So we think that we need to approach this cross-border capital inflow to how we can expand that. And finally, looking at the right column, it is perhaps unsurprising things, but that many of the world's taxonomy framework, including transition taxonomy, existing in emerging economics side, so the demand side of finance. These frameworks developed align with their own transition pathway. The challenge now is to make effective use of this framework and to advance interoperability toward greater equivalence, ensuring that capital can flow to where it is most needed. And this is the last page for me. So the reason why the inclusion of emerging economies and hard-to-abate sector is so important is that excluding these areas risks create what we call financial carbon leakage. So many financial institutions use financed emission as a key performance metrics. However, if this indicator is applied too narrowly or assessed only over a short-term horizon, it can unintentionally create different incentives like encouraging institutions to reduce these finance emissions, not by supporting decarbonization among borrowers or investors, but simply by withdrawing finance from carbon-intensive sectors altogether. Such behavior does not contribute to global decarbonization. It just shifts lending and investment from regulated areas to those outside of the regulatory framework. So moreover, it can make it even more difficult to engage with and support the sector where transition is most urgently needed. So this is the concern behind financial carbon leakage, and avoiding it is essential to achieve real-world emission reduction in the broader economy. I'd like to speak here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Yamazaki-san, for your insight from the IEA. I think we'll come back to you. Let me invite the next speaker, Mr. Kenichi Komura-san, the Chief Manager and Head of Natural Resource Group, Nippon Export and Investment Insurance, NEXI. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you very much for your introduction, and thank you for having us. And hello, everyone. I'm Konuma from NEXI, Tokyo. Let me introduce ourselves briefly, actually. The NEXI, as a kind of Japanese government agency, the 100% owned by a Japanese government, and then simply say that our kind of mission will be to encouraging Japanese companies like overseas business by providing the insurance directly to the Japanese company, but indirectly to the benefit to the borrower side as well. But that's something we're doing. The several insurance, as I said, that insurance type is mainly like three. We're providing the export insurance, and investment insurance, as well as the loan insurance. This like basically three type of insurance, and covering the political risk as well as commercial, the project risk as well. This shows that in details more like three type of insurance: the export credit insurance, and the overseas investment insurance, number two, and then number three, loan insurance. And then in terms of, we're thinking of, as we think about the transition financing, we are like more like focusing on loan type of insurance here now. I'm also like in charge of the loan insurance for oil and gas sector. So go to the next slide. This is a kind of type of loan insurance. Simply like two types. One is like buyer credit insurance, which is kind of linked to the Japanese export. We call like tied financing. And then the right side is overseas untied loan insurance, which is so-called untied insurance. It's not tied to the export, but more like supporting to Japanese overseas business like investment or maybe offtake or so. The expansion of the untied loan insurance, we call it a LEAD program from a few years ago. This is also kind of expansion of the untied type of program, which try to find the sort of Japan interest as wide as possible, so that you can see that right, the bottom side of LEAD. The capital word. We support, the leading technologies, environmental stuff, and alliance and development, which if it's related to such its context, we'll be able to support outside the program for that project as well. So that in text of the transition financing, it's happy to have a kind of Japanese involvement, obviously, so that we can support the maybe from side finance or maybe on-side finance. In addition, we can also support the transition finance based on these lead initiatives, which could be like relating to the environmental and energy, and it could be the alliance with the other countries, including the ASEAN countries. This is also show you the kind of recommended loan insurance. Sorry about that. Maybe it's too detailed, so maybe let us skip this slide. It just explains about what's the biocredit, what's an OELI. This is case study of the lead program, loan insurance to the Turkey Exim Bank. This is something we're doing for some countries. Case number 2 for sort of like green innovation, like type of program in Egypt. Wind power project as well. This show you also a kind of loan insurance for overseas all over the world, including some project in Asia. This is overseas untied loan insurance, so untied. So too many untied projects in not only Asia but overseas. So that maybe our position is like, as I said, that we are kind of government agency, and then tried the supporting to the private company, a Japanese company, and then we are always aligned with the, we are close to the Ministry of Economy and Trade and Industry, so well known as METI. We are kind of always aligned to what METI is thinking of in terms of their strategy for including energy. So that we keep supporting that kind of project, which is aligned with the METI as well as the Japanese companies. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. KIMURA-san, for your insight about Nexus. I think in project financing, I think insurance is quite important to ensure that the whole process of financing is guaranteed. So the role of Nexus is quite important in this case. I will come back to you. I think I will throw the first round of questions to our panelists, starting from Kato-san, I think from JBIC. I want to know also how the financing for this transition project progressing so far, and where do you still see the gap in mobilizing private capital across the ASEAN or Asia countries? Please, if you may, share your insight, please.
Okay, thank you very much. I will start with the figures. So the results, so concerning the number of the green and transition finance, so we are including green finance also, but the project, total conforming amount of our loan or co-financing amount, we basically co-finance with the commercial banks. So we add the commercial bank portion, but it's about approximately $10 billion US dollars. It fluctuates. It used to be $20 billion US dollars in 2023, whether it was just 7.5 billion US dollars for 2024. But I think it's just a matter of the pipeline, so it's basically average of about 10 billion US dollars. So this is how we are by means of figures. By means of the financing gap, I mean, we see many financing gaps in all the areas of the transition fields. So we have close dialogue with the Vietnam government, Indonesian government, Thai government, Malaysian government, and Singaporean government. They're all in the term of transition era. I think most of the people mentioned about the coal fire, but people are transitioning more into gas, into renewables. So when they want to transition to new kind of powers, like gas to powers, they need the regulations. So we are now on the situation of having close dialogue with all the governments, how we create the ASUPA project and all the other transition projects to be bankable. And I think all the people in the panel mentioned about how we create the business to be beneficial and bankable ways. We are in the situation of having this kind of dialogue. This is what we are now.
Thank you so much for your insight, Kato-san. Next, I move to the ADB, Pradeep-san. I think my question to you is, because you already in your presentation present about energy transition mechanism, we want to know more what progress have ADB achieved through that mechanism and in Southeast Asia, and how can we attract more private sector partnership in these sectors? If you can share your insight.
Thank you. I think if there's one thing that we can all take away from this panel is that there is increasing momentum to finance green, but very few people really want to finance the brown to green transition. And you heard about all the reasons why that is the case. So what ADB did is back in 2021, as we decided to see if we can go out and look at one particular problem within the brown to green area and see if we can tackle it. And that's how we developed this, the energy transition mechanism approach. And we've started focusing on grid-connected, large-scale coal-fired power plants. As I said earlier, this is a particular problem because across Southeast Asia, the average age of a coal-fired power plant is about 15 years. Now, if you look at Europe or you look at the US, plants are, the average age is 40 to 50 years, which means the plants in Southeast Asia are young and they are going to operate. If you don't stop them deliberately, they're going to operate for the next 3 to 4 to 5 decades. Now, energy demand is growing, so you can say we can just keep adding renewables, but that doesn't always help because if you look at the island of Java, you've got oversupply. And the fact that you have a lot of existing coal-fired power plants means you don't have space to bring in renewables into the mix. So that's what the ETM is about. It's really about re-leveraging and refinancing these assets and providing an incentive for them to be shut down or terminated earlier than the existing power purchase agreement or the contracted agreement in place. Now, we've been working in multiple countries across the region. We are working on several pilot transactions. We're not in a place to sort of celebrate by saying we've actually managed to close on any of them. There are several challenges. We've talked about them in different ways and running out of time, but I think suffice to say that we brought together the private sector, bilateral governments who provided grants and concessional money, and ADB's own balance sheet in collaboration with governments in Indonesia, in the Philippines, in Vietnam, in Cambodia and other places. We are looking to develop a series of pilots, and we hope we'll be able to have some successes in the coming weeks and months, years. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Pradeep-san, for your insight. Very grateful. The next, I want to ask the IEA again, Mr. Yamasaki-san. I think you already highlight in your presentation, but we want to know more. What are the main barriers to deploy the large transition finance technologies at scale, how to do that, and then how can policy coordination can unlock investment to support the transition finance?
Thank you very much. Yeah, so of course the challenge, for the transition technology, so each technology have the different challenge. And also if we talk about the investment, especially in emerging economies, so there are the various risks about the country risk or currency risk, and also the policy and the regulatory uncertainty. So I think that kind of the whole investment value, it is very important to collaborate with maybe the MDB or the government-related bank like the JBK or ADB or NEXI. That is a very important thing. And another thing, from the transition finance perspective, the one thing is how you can explain your the transition characteristic. That is very important. So from our analysis, so I think still in this moment the KPI is very important for explaining that. So because sometimes if you don't have the clear evidence or the explanation for your transition process, that will the people hesitate to support that investment. So how you can show the progress of decarbonization by the appropriate KPI I think that is not, we can't have a unified KPI for all sectors. It should be very detailed or the sector-specific KPI, but that will also help the investment.
Thank you so much, Yamashita-san. I think the next for Nexus, I would like also want to know how Nexus support energy transition project, especially for natural gas and LNG facility amid tightening ESG standards. So how you balance those investments?
Thank you very much for your asking. As I said, that we are kind of keen to support the transition financing type of things, and including gas. We are kind of open to like support the gas, but maybe challenging will be, we have to sort of like involve the commercial banks, as they have kind of faced difficulty about their financial emissions, finance emissions, kind of scope 3 type of thing. So for the gas. So it's for maybe having the kind of transition finance, how to common understanding that necessity of the transition finance, it's important. Also, how to involve that kind of commercial bank, including, of course, the Japanese banks and then the international well-known bank. Actually, until yesterday, I went to kind of attended the TXF Asia in 2025, and then we talked with the several, commercial, international commercial bank, and they are still, keen to support some type of the gas project. Could be possible, could not be possible to the upstreams, but still, they are very keen to support about the kind of midstream, downstream, like including energy plant or maybe the gas power. So that's encouraging me to support that project as well. So,
thank you so much for your insight. I think maybe the next round, each maybe limit to 1 minute because we don't have much time. With regard with the natural gas, I think it's linked with this financer is particular for JBIC. I also want to know that how JBIC can balance support for gas infrastructure with a long-term carbon neutral goal in this regard.
Thank you very much. First of all, I would like to present how we approach gas projects. So next you mentioned about the upstream and midstream and downstream, but for us, we support whole the value chain. So we do from upstream to midstream to downstream. This is our approach at this moment. But it's not like we can do any kind of gas projects all over the world. We have to determine that in the long term, that the decarbonization roadmap of each partnering countries. So we examine the role of the gas in each country's power development plans or energy roadmap. How are they going to try the carbon neutrality within 2050 or any time or period of that they say that they're going to have reached to carbon neutrality. So we, of course, align with their policies, and then we provide our solutions, how we can deal with that, starting from gas to carbon neutral project. So, of course, we will go into more details of alternative fuels, like the biofuels or hydrogen and ammonia, and all together as a package, we provide financing. Yep.
Thank you so much, the insight from JBIC. Next for the ADB, I think the next question we want to know also, what lesson can we draw from the successful decarbonization project in hard-to-abate sector like steel, cement, and heavy transportation?
Yeah, that's a question that probably can't be answered because we don't have any successful examples. I mean, just last week, the Financial Times had an article that said that the largest green steel project in Europe that the whole world is watching to see how it's going to pan out is already running into trouble. This is despite having received hundreds of millions of dollars, or Swedish krona in this case, of aid from the government. So I think maybe if I can just reiterate what I said earlier, is that you really need exceptional project sponsors to come together. You need very strong government support on policies, on mandates, and actual money on the table in terms of supporting these projects. You need very good project execution. You cannot get anything wrong because these first-of-a-kind projects are extremely complex. You only get one chance to get them right. And you need partnerships. You need unconventional financiers to come in. What we are seeing in the case of some of these projects, you have philanthropies coming in, you have venture capitalists coming in, and if you look at the project company, it's not your typical developers, now you have some of your suppliers are now on your project company. Your off-takers are now getting on your capital table. So I think it's unconventional partnerships also, I think, will be important. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your insight and very frank experience sharing with our audience today. And the next for the IEA, I think this is important. How are the shifting global energy strategy in the US and the Europe shaping the capital flow and transition finance in Asia? How those geopolitics will shape the transition finance in Asia?
Yeah, thank you. So, of course, many analyses can be made about the current situation, but I think the important thing is from the policy side is a clear prioritization and direction, and also the international cooperation. So from the policy side, I think the two key areas for government. So one is the developing the national level, maybe roadmap or a clear direction, clear strategy for decarbonization. Also linking with the energy security or supply chain security, or also the industrial competitiveness. I think that clear guidance it supports the corporate or project level activities. And also one more thing is the importance is the international cooperation and how we can recognize the real value of this transition finance, because now I think the incentive is also needed for this transition finance, especially from the advanced economies to the emerging countries. So how we can make some effort in the international cooperation, and also maybe the collaboration with finance side to how we can treat this transition finance in the finance emission accounting or other climate target is very important. So I think those can help, and also this AZEC community is very important to recognize this value of the transition finance.
Thank you so much for your insight from the IEA. I think the last question to the next is that what kind of measure can we strengthen the regional cooperation for kind of Japanese-style transition finance that could be applied and support to ASEAN?
Thank you very much for asking. Maybe it's difficult to explain it within short time for the Japanese style transition finance, but actually next year attended the kind of sub-working led by METI for the transition financing promotion in Asia. So that maybe firstly to understand, to make them, the people understand the common understanding for the Japanese style transition finance is the first way. And also to involve the discussion with the other countries, the government, sort of like a G2G framework for that. For example, let's say like the framework making the kind of listing of the which is the transitional activity, so that maybe we can determine, and then we are going to support that transition by the transition financing together with maybe the governmental agency like NEXI. That's one of the things. Also, like involving the other advanced country, like let's say like now UK is quite keen to transition finance, Canada as well. So we try to find the company friends. So.
Thank you so much. I think we are run out of time, but I think without your participation, we are not very been responding to the audience. So unless you have, if one question, if you really want to ask, raise your hand. That's the last opportunity. Anyone have question? Raise your hand. And okay, because we stand between your lines, let me wrap up. I think today's discussion have reaffirmed that transition finance is not the option, but it's necessity to ensure the Asia's particular growth remains sustainable and inclusive. Key takeaway from this important session, including strengthening regional financing frameworks through the ASEC activity, encourage dual pillar financing, recognizing transition along the green finance, also mobilize blend finance and de-risk private investments through institutions like here, JBIC, ADB, Nexus, and other international organizations to support, like including the IEA and ERIA here. Thank you, our distinguished panelists, and please share with me and give them a big applause, a round of applause. Thank you so much, by the way. Yeah.
Thank you very much to Dr. Han and, of course, our panelists. Could we kindly have our moderator and panelists step forward for a quick photo, please? And I'm sure you don't need me to tell you. Thumbs up, please. Thank you so much once again, Dr. Han, Mr. Kato, Mr. Pradeep, Mr. Yamasaki, and of course, Mr. Konuma. Hopefully, with strong transition finance solutions in place, the necessary partnerships we urgently need for a zero-emission future can indeed forge ahead. As we come to the end of our event, let's take this opportunity to invite on stage for his closing remark a council member of the ASEAN BAC Malaysia and Group CEO of Yison Holdings Berhad, representing the advocacy group of AZEC. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Lim Chern Yuan.
Good afternoon, Excellencies, esteemed colleagues and business leaders. It is an honor to deliver the closing remarks for what has been a productive and insightful AZEC Business Forum. Over the past day, we have discussed bridging the gap between ambitious net zero commitments and on-the-ground commercial, practical realities of ASEAN and its partners' energy transition. The dialogue has been characterized by sharing of honest experiences, cautious optimism, and a unified vision for a sustainable, affordable, inclusive future. We set out to find the practical pathways towards carbon neutrality, and I felt the case studies and panel discussions have delivered precisely that. We saw that the ASEAN Power Grid highlighted not just an usual infrastructure project, but as a foundational necessary infrastructure in bringing regional grid stability and energy interoperability. It is a key to unlocking cross-border renewable energy trade and enhancing energy security, stability in power supply, and affordability, allowing countries to share their natural resources and bring down, more importantly, the cost of power for each other. The focus on sustainable biofuels for vehicles moved the conversation beyond long-term electrification goals and into immediate, actionable decarbonization efforts for our existing and emerging transport fleets. Our discussion on transition finance revealed the critical mechanism needed to scale these initiatives. The consensus among financial experts was clear. We need to innovate, execute projects well, especially on green and transition infrastructure and investments. We need to blend public and private capital effectively and develop local capacity to structure these complex deals to make it bankable. The financing tools are definitely there for us to tap on. These sessions reinforce the core principle of the AZEC platform: one goal, various pathway. We understand that there's no single solution feasible for 11 diverse nations. Each country across ASEAN and its partners must pursue decarbonization at a pace and through technological mix that sustains its economic growth. The forum has proven that the pathway may vary, but the destination of carbon neutrality while sustaining economic and social inclusivity is possible. Ladies and gentlemen, we have the ambitions, natural resources, and capital within ASEAN. What we need now is an inclusive marketplace that rewards this ambition, mobilizes private sector finance at speed, and ensure every pathway, whether it's biofuel, renewables, or cross-border partnership, is optimized for scale. This brings me to our critical closing message and a call to action for every businesses represented today. ASEAN BAC is currently advocating the ASEAN Common Carbon Market Framework. This framework is essential. It is the tool that will integrate our varied national efforts into a single, cohesive, and powerful economic driver. It will turn climate action from a cost center into a competitive advantage. For the ACCF to succeed, it requires the active leadership and unwavering support of all the business community in this room. So let us commit to moving from dialogue to decisive action. Let us embrace our role as the architects of a common, prosperous, and sustainable ASEAN future. The success of AZEC vision and viability of our region's transition will also develop faster when we support and build this unified carbon market. So with that, I thank you all, and may the work begin. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lim, for highlighting the key messages of our forum today and emphasizing what needs to be done to move forward together towards net zero. Ladies and gentlemen, as we conclude the AZEC Business Forum, we'd like to extend our sincere appreciation to all our speakers and participants for their valuable insights and contribution today. And yes, that's all of you. Let's give yourself a big round of applause. You're still here despite lunch calling. Through our discussions on the ASEAN Power Grid, sustainable biofuels, and transition finance, we have deepened our shared understanding of the pathways towards a decarbonized and sustainable Asia. Thank you once again for your presence here. We look forward to seeing your continued progress throughout the AZEC partnership. I'm Shani Iman Lee signing off. Stay safe and have a productive afternoon ahead.